Hey folks, Francisco here from Sports Goofs. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcasts right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcasts on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Rabbit Peach, you're safe! Despite the mysterious malevolent energy sabotaging our weapons! Neutralizing our weapons? Ha! We'll simply rely on our powerful dash move that has saved the day for us during many a battle. Using dash, we can jar those egg-like things loose once they're in your possession. You can throw them at the creature's orb-shaped eyeball protuberance.
Which, what did they start as? Rayman, right?
Yeah, so, and I've started the show, but I want to keep this conversation going.
That's fine.
Because, hey, what's
this
up?
is Angela's show, so
Yeah.
game's coming in.
Yeah, so Francisco and Charles here for Sports Goose 156. I've labeled it peer pressure. I was hoping Andrew would pop here because I wanted to rant on the Boston Bruins, but I'll do it myself then. But anyways, so... yeah, we haven't talked gaming in a while because gaming is happening this week. Yeah, this is a good week. This is a good the last third of this year is of course the season, right? So just all these games coming out. You're sending me all these things from the cheap gaming. A cheap ass gamer. Yeah, exactly.
Follow him on the Twitter. Jesus.
Yeah. Like all of that. Like it's insane. I haven't bought Guacamelee. I'm sorry, dude. Like
$5, man.
Much, man.
I'll send it to you right now. I love that series. I have we've been doing this. I started 4 years ago. I don't shut up about it. I legitimately love that series beyond belief. I'll take a third one if they want to make a third one.
I'm just so swamped with so many other games. Like I'm in Yakuza. Like I'm interested. I'm in it now. Like Yakuza 0.
Fucking the time, man.
I dropped 3 hours the other day, and they finally let you go, let you do your thing. Yeah. So it's like, okay.
You're on chapter 3 now, right?
I'm still in chapter 2. I'm not in chapter 3 yet, but for the most part. Yeah. Okay, so for the most part, they kind of let you go. You can go into the freaking Sega arcade. I was playing Outrun for.
I was playing Space Harrier.
It's amazing. Like I'm wasting time playing a different video game within a video game.
It's like Inception.
Yeah, I'm going to the freaking Smile Burger to buy a burger. And just eating. I'm walking into a different restaurant. You can buy liquor at any point and just walk around drunk during the game.
Yeah.
And I was doing the side missions. That's
they just randomly appear, which makes me appreciate that more.
Yeah.
You don't see an icon over anybody's head. It's just all of a sudden it's like, hey, there's a man who's trying to buy my panties.
It happens.
Beat that man.
It happens so naturally. So I did the one. I don't know if you did this one. But I was just walking around, trying to... Because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Because they're like, oh, you have to find the Tachibana, whatever, and, ask around, businesses. I'm like, okay, well... And it's you put on the map, and they don't give you, oh, go here.
It kind of is, but I can't explain it to show you right now.
He does say, if you just stand around, he'll just be like, oh, I have to do this. And you okay, I got to figure out how to do that. But then, maybe I wasn't paying attention when the cutscene that introduced that happened. By the way, I was just walking around. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just playing Sega arcade games first, eating hamburgers, getting drunk, and just well, this is definitely
the social interaction that you crave as a 34, 35-year-old man.
it's
You have to replicate into that.
Japanese man simulator, which is great. And I'm just walking around, and just like you see like a line. He's like, suddenly you're like, oh, there's a line here. What's this about? And you start asking around. Oh, it's like a video game. And you start talking to his little kid. His little kid's like, oh, I've been saving money to buy the game. And so like, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I walk into the store, and it's like a typical Japanese like store. It's like super cramped. You're just walking around looking for the okay, I'm not buying anything. And then I walk out. And then suddenly like the little kid's like standing by himself, and I start talking to him. He's like, he starts crying because he's like somebody robbed him. And so then I gotta go hunt down the guy who robbed them. And then that guy, I hunt him down, I beat the crap out of him. And then he's like, oh, I got robbed by somebody else. So then I hunt that guy down and beat the crap out of him. He pulls out a knife and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to, find the game for my kid. It was sold out everywhere. I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, well, this is also a little kid's. And, you're stealing a little kid's thing. Oh, I'm sorry. And like, the whole Japanese honor and all that type of stuff. They're so humble. And suddenly like the kid's like, oh, that's my dad.
I haven't gotten to that one. Did you get to the rock group trying to be tough guys?
That's the screenshot that I sent you, where they're asking like, "Oh, what do we say to him?" And I'm like, "Talk about puppies." I legitimately didn't. I was trying to make them fail because but I'm like, I'll just pick the most ridiculous answers, and it's like, no, the most ridiculous answers are the right answers for this.
Well, it's telling your story essentially.
Yeah. I'm like, if I was an ousted Japanese Yakuza man in the 1980s,
the fight mechanics are good. I'll give you that. I like the beat 'em up brawl style.
Yeah, they give you the different styles, which I guess helps it open up. The rush mode is pretty cool for me. I do that. I just beat the crap. Like, okay, I got
the big motherfucker.
I just got
Mr. I steal your money.
Yeah. I just got the you see him randomly for the first time as well. You just start walking around, it's like, hey, and then like, oh, okay, whatever. I've beaten everybody, at this point. So it's like, and I'm playing this on easy, and suddenly like I'm getting he's beating crap out of me. And I'm losing money. I'm like, I have like 40 million yen. What's going on?
Yep, and it just takes you.
Oh man, and so. Yeah.
Have you seen him after he beats you up? Because he notices you and he starts like walking to you like Mr. T does, or the Tyrant does in Resident Evil 2 remake. You're like, oh fuck. Oh,
I've seen him from a distance, and like I'm like, nope, I am walking around. I've still got money. I bought some stuff. I was at the Sega arcade. I got a little plush Sega Genesis. Like I'm over here getting plushes. I'm trying to get that plush from frickin' Fantasy Zone. That's really hard to get. I'm just like all these Sega references, like pre-Sonic that I recognized.
Which we love.
Yeah.
That's why I know Andrew.
I knew you were gonna.
What would you recommend? I'm like, no.
You're gonna go nuts on the Space Harrier. I know that.
I did, man. I was trying to go to the second world, and then I died. I'm like, fuck, I can't. Because what it does? It saves me actual money from playing the Sega Genesis collection, and or prevents me from having to buy it for the eShop, which I should just buy it anyway at my own leisure.
I just have to Switch Online, which you get most of those games that are on there anyways, except for Sonic. But anyways, so yeah, Yakuza's been like I finally I got into it now. Like I'm invested. As soon as they like let me go and do my thing, I started like, oh, this is why there's like 8 games in this series.
Yeah, and ironically, I think what happened was I saw the Baka Mitai memes. Yeah. And I heard the song. I'm like, oh, this is actually one of my friends plays it. And she sent it to me. I'm like, man, this is like excellent for like a video game song.
Yeah.
And I'm that person who gets obsessed with the idea of how did we get here? I need to know. It is unavoidable. I want to know. I must know. I need to know. And I just got out, and it was on sale for $5. And I was like, yo, I'm buying this. Are you buying this? And you followed me into that dark hole, which I think will open up after God of War. Obviously, there was other obligations I had to attend to.
Yeah.
And cater to, which I don't regret because that's tomorrow. So ready for that.
Oh yeah. No, it's gonna be. It's insane this week, man. I beat I beat Mario and Rabbids. So that was like, I think I got to like 40, close to like 40 hours on that, right? And I'm not even I haven't even 100% in it, but I've got like I'm like at like 89% done with it. So I've almost 100% in it. I bought the DLC already. That's like whenever that drops, they got Rayman coming. I'm gonna be excited for that. Like I'll go back to it, so that'll be fun. I recommend it. That's basically an on-sponsor already, so that's like, everybody knows. And then like bought Sonic, so that's happened. And apparently he has his shoes for Sonic Adventure 2, which has made it worth it at this point. And I got a free game with that called Everhood, which is like 6 hours long, but has like good reviews.
But screw it, it's free.
An indie game, yeah, an indie game with like this Fanatical website, which is like I've gotten like already like 3 free games from that website already. Just signing up. So that's how they get you. This is why like PC gaming, like I've got like $4,000 worth of games thanks to it, and I can't even imagine you with.
It would be absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, you know, Starbucks coffee. No, I'm spending my $8 on everything.
That's really how it ought to be.
Yeah,
you know, like my logic is if it's the cost of a Crunchwrap Supreme, I can skip it. You know, I will not have the Taco Bell, and instead I'll go elsewhere because games are expensive, and you know what comes out tomorrow. And do you think I'm paying $70 for God of War? No. Do you know how much I'm gonna pay for that sumbitch tomorrow? $0 because I have the $40 for my Best Buy certificates that are expiring later in the month from buying the dryer, and then I have still gift cards from last Christmas. And what I would tell anybody who thinks I'm frugal, frivolous, or cheap, I absolutely am.
Yeah,
but I get off hardest in life knowing that I can get a day one game for free. It was a Splatoon. Yeah. Like on Splatoon 3 came out, didn't cost a single thing, and I got some freebies out of it.
Yeah.
This time I don't have to go for the freebies per se, but I'm excited for that. But I don't pay full price for nothing. I think my standard rate of gaming that I would buy, like what's my soft touch kind of price that it's like fine, I won't blink about it, hate it, is if it's 30. Because the way that everything has kind of gone up in price now, food-wise, I can spend $100 in food and drink, and then I'm like, $30 for a game isn't as terrible. And listen, I gotta tell you now, if you go out to eat in certain places lately, and it's like a $15 for a burger now, that's actually not a quality burger, and then they charge you like $4 for the soda. So I'll tell you right now, don't get the fountain drink unless you really want that Sprite, which is understandable, because you're paying now the same price as it is for 2 liter. It makes no sense. So if you're doing 20 and then you always do the compulsory tip, and kids tip even though there's inflation, or not even inflation, tip even though they raise the prices, because at the end of the day, if you know anybody in the server field, they don't get shit, man.
Yeah.
But you're talking about $25 to $28 for a meal that I might regret. A $30 game I might not regret.
No.
So that's like my logic. That's kind of like my position on what the sweet spot is.
I position games basically like it's a value thing, right? So how much are you getting out of it? So like I know I will enjoy certain games, right? I thanks to the coupons and all that stuff, I got Sonic. I got the digital deluxe edition, which is like I think it's like
you always get something. They have DLC coming out too.
Yeah. It's like $75, something like that, right? And it's like, okay, well, with the coupon, I get it for the base price.
Well, you take that jump.
Yeah, I got it for the base price, and I got freaking 3 other games for it, like free on Steam at the same time. So I got like, and those games aren't like, they weren't like, like those $2 games.
Most indie games are $10, man.
Yeah, but they were basically the one that I got was $15. The other one was like $10. It's like, okay, well, these are actual games that have good reviews and are competent indie titles and puzzle games and stuff like that. I might one day get to it when I'm like 70 and retired, right? And I can quit this law game finally. Like that's how I see it. And I say, okay, how many hours are you gonna get out of it, right? It's like, okay, so this Sonic game is 20 hours from what people are saying. Meaning for me, a diehard, I'm gonna get like 30 hours out of it on the first playthrough.
And I think that's why, to this day, I enjoy the Resident Evil series. It's why, to this day, I will not buy RE3 Remake, because it's literally only 6 hours. And I'm not putting $15 in 6 hours. $10? Yeah, I can do that, sure. But $15 for 6 hours, I can get that bad burger. that
Yeah.
you get it somewhere.
Yeah,
No.
well, yeah, you see that. Like Mario and Rabbids, I'm like, I paid full price, yeah, $60, but I paid.
But you are two different people, though. You don't literally hate yourself. Like, I feel disgusted that sometimes I have to pay something. Like, I literally, it's, oh man, it is the most unsatisfying feeling. It's like going to a therapist after you have finally come to cleaning and then you realize that your therapist screwed you over and you weren't healed at all. That's how it feels. Like this idea that I was okay because I was doing this, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have a lot of trauma that it was not unpacked properly. They just told you it was okay.
And
I pull a sneaky on you. You're like, what the hell is he going to mean by that? Because sometimes there's bad therapists out there.
Yeah,
and
no,
you it's fine, and they don't
have
let
to shop
you talk
around.
about it.
You have to shop around with therapists. Like like if you get one and you don't click with them, you gotta you gotta cut bait and immediately go to the next one. So sometimes you get lucky, you get them on the first try, but other times it's just like no. So, but like, yeah, no, this is Sonic Frontier, so I got that. I still haven't got Bayonetta. I'm
She coming, but I don't need her today.
Exactly.
She came out at a bad time for games, really, when you think about it.
I got Mario the week before that, which wasn't helpful, and then I was engrossed with that. I beat it relatively quickly, and like
I just don't know how you can come home from work and want to play video games. I'm fucking exhausted, man. You do more demanding work than I do. That's the crazy part.
I wouldn't say that, but either way, I just like I know what I like, right? So it's a Mario game. I love the first one, and I was just like, I gotta get through this, you know. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, I gotta beat this because if not, I'm not gonna 100% this on my first try. Like I wanted to, but I'm like, I started Yakuza. I want to get that running. There's some other PC games I've installed on here that I started and never finished, you know. And then and then I knew Bayonetta was coming, so that was a hit. I was waiting for Sonic Frontiers to see the reviews. Like that's a 7. Oh, 7 is basically game of the year for Sonic, you know.
Sevens are good.
7.5, right? So
I feel sometimes we're too spoiled on those 8 and 9s, and we got to realize, you know, the 7s are only unacceptable, truthfully, on those big AA, you know, or AAA publishers.
Yeah. Plus,
Microsoft doesn't make games anymore, so I can't even use them as an example.
They screwed up Halo, so.
Right.
Yeah, and then and yeah, Sonic has like a stigma to him too. Like, there's probably reviewers out there that like can't bring themselves to give Sonic an 8.
I mean, there's literally people who hate Frontiers, and I thought Frontiers was just lovely.
Or Forces.
For what it was. Forces, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm thinking that.
Yeah,
I thought Forces was just lovely. It was a Christmas gift, so it's free.
Yeah,
but you know, I
maybe
like
that colored your expectations, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
You had nothing to lose with it, right? So it's like,
well, but it's also a quick 6-hour game.
Yeah.
So I have nothing to like.
I think they sold it for like $45 when it came out, anyway. Like they knew.
Yeah. And then it came out free because not Nintendo, but PlayStation and Xbox were like, we'll buy your rights for it, put it on as a game of the year. Or
I got it for $20, so
yeah, that's fair. Like I think that is appropriately priced for that game. I get 6 hours of mindless stuff that's sometimes cute. Yeah. And then I can play. The only complaint I have is I just didn't play as enough Sonic. That was it.
Yeah. And it's a fast game. It's whatever. It's not the best in the series. It's just, but it's not the worst. That's the other thing. It's not the.
It's legitimately like an Elsewhere kind of game.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't hate it.
It's just, more like a bridge.
Yeah, it's not. Which one's the one with the worst one? The one with the sword, right? Sonic and the Black Knight.
I played. I think I emulated that, but I don't think I played through it completely.
Unless you want to, this is a sports show, everybody. Unless you want to count the remaster of Colors that didn't do so well on launch.
And apparently, somebody's remaking Sonic 06 on PC, and from the ground, and like they're fairly deep into it already. So I'm waiting for that because I don't want to buy the 360 version. Because it's like, okay, they're gonna remake it and improve it on PC, and Sega doesn't give a shit. They're not like Nintendo. They won't shut it down. They'll just be like,
Sega is smart to understand free shit. You know, like the free publicity is better than you know paying for bad publicity.
And the Sonic fan base is
booming.
Weird.
No intended.
No, we're weird. We're weird. We're a strange bunch of folk.
But right now is a good time to be a Sonic fan
no,
because you had two good Sonic movies. I didn't see the second one yet. You had screw this guy. I'm playing Splatoon in the background. So I have to get ready, man. I have to get ready. We'll talk since we're on the gaming show. Peer pressure. We'll talk about peer pressure.
I can't decide.
I can't either. It's gonna happen on game day, and I'm gonna have to make the choice: do I pick my past or do I pick my future? And that's how I'm gonna get my starter choice. Because I think that's the only way.
Like I told you. Yellow, I got Yellow was my first Pokemon game. I got Yellow, like it was Pikachu, right? So then like I got Gold and I chose Totodile. Then I eventually got Ruby, and I chose Trico to start. And then I got Silver, Gold, the remake of Gold, and I chose Totodile again. And then I got the Sword, and I chose the freaking the bunny, Score Bunny. So
I chose Grookey Pie.
One of each type.
Cute, and it was Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
and I forgot the nickname I gave him.
Yeah,
because I had to give him something cute.
Yeah,
and I don't remember what the hell it was.
So
I'll
like,
have to load up Shield.
I can't choose between. I have chosen every single type. So
that's why I think the same way the logic has to be to choose what you were originally going to choose in Scarlet or Violet.
Yeah, or do I simp for like the character that I like in Splatoon that's representing the type? I have no idea. Do I go with my big man Ray guy, or I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it's crazy.
That's the hardest decision. That is legitimately hard. Usually Splatfest, it's like silly and innocuous, and you're not going to be thinking about separating families and destroying people. This is one of those times where I'm like, oh no, this could actually, create the War of the Roses here. I get it.
No, I think and they did it in the second one. Like they had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, but I already knew I was Raph. I'm like, okay, this.
Oh yeah, like without question.
like it kind of.
He's got size. He's angry all the time. I'm like, that's me.
He drives the first movie. Like the first movie is about him.
Oh yeah.
Like it's about him and his journey.
He's also very underrated in the 2007 animated one, which no one seems to give love to. I think
I've seen it, but I don't remember much from it.
As Patrick Stewart, no Shredders in there.
And then that was the one I remember from the second one, which kind of gets me wondering, like, what are they gonna do for this one after the Pokemon one? Like, because like the first one was like what, rock paper scissors. It was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But like
and they're like boom.
But I'm like, okay, what's with the brands? Like how's that, like, just these choices that we got to make?
Oh no, because I'm afraid of February, or not February, of May. You know what May comes out? Zelda.
Which Triforce? Oh no, it's gonna be the Triforce. It's gonna be like, are you Triforce of Courage, Wisdom, or Power?
Yeah.
So it'll be like Ganondorf, Zelda, and Link. That's what it's gonna be. That's got. Oh, we already predicted that. Watch,
that's
it's gonna
hard.
It's gonna. That's
what do you pick?
Yeah. Do you want Wisdom? Do you want Power? Or do you want Courage? Right?
Because bastards. That's all I'm saying. Bastards.
Yeah. So that's. I'm already excited. So yeah, and then we got Bayonetta. You got God of War. Immediately, hurricanes coming. You're gonna be bunkered down.
I got a semi just hearing that. So explain to me how Nintendo was trying to screw me over my God of War time, because I can't say no to a Splatfest. You know this. We did Splatfest. We put 5 hours, and I'm like, I was dead time. Like I got my caffeine. I might as well just had a fucking
it's the
code red Mountain Dew.
It's the downtime, right? As soon as you because like in the last Splatfest, I did my thing, and then for like a day, and then I was like, okay, and I did. The worst thing was I got discouraged because of how badly our team was losing.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, we are getting absolutely like handled here.
I think the reason why we have bad teammates is because the appeal is broader now. It's not secluded little weirdos.
No.
It has a generated appeal.
100 million Switches out there.
Yeah, and then you're just like, oh shit. Because you got to remember, 2 came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was people who got it knew that they wanted it as a launch title, but then what came after that, Kart and Smash.
Yeah.
And that's what really kind of led to it. And 5 years later, I put all them, and then 3 came out, and I'm like, there's never you never have to wait for people, anything like that. Maybe 5 years now might be a different story, but this is going to be here to stay, man. I think that's the reason why they put in that 3-year or 2-year plan for DLC. And so these assholes at Nintendo are like, oh yeah, you that guy Kratos and the boy.
Yeah.
Well, what if I gave you something that made you addicted and you had to quit purposely so you could pass the bar exam?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, yeah. And what if we made it very important to you? I'm like, what are you gonna do? What if you made decisions about your Pokemon? What? Yeah, that thing that brought you back when you were 10 years old, when you were watching UPN at 5:30 in the morning, getting ready, and you saw Ash Ketchum and Pikachu.
And this Pokemon
Yeah.
game of all Pokemon, like this one, the one I'm most hyped about. Like I thought I was hyped for Sword, and then I got disappointed. But this one actually, like like
Donald Duck. I can
it
have Donald Duck as a damn Pokemon.
calls back to the homeland of Spain, right?
Right.
The origin.
It's not even Curry this time. It's like Baella.
Yeah. But it's like they're gonna have like they're definitely gonna start doing like other countries aside from that too. Like they're gonna.
I do. Me and my buddies in the Discord chat were talking about. I do wish that they were a little bit more original with the names because they literally have like a Pokemon named NaCl, like Nestle, such as table salt. I'm like, I feel it. Like that was my one discouraging with Sword. I'm like, that's just a rock with like a single eyeball. But I enjoyed Sword and Shield for what it is. I actually have to replay Sword real quick on a stat stuffer to kind of transfer my Pokemon from home just to get it done so I can get some stuff. But I haven't watched any singular gameplay in Scarlet and Violet, but it doesn't matter. I enjoy for what it is, the wholesomeness. Oh shit, I died. But how dare they do a Splatfest on God of War? Because I'm super stoked. It's like 30 hours basically is what's going to cost.
The reviews have come out, right? They're all getting like perfect 10s.
Which is scary because with games that have like perfect 10 expectations, the perfect 10's given. It's it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but
the pedigree for this game,
But I have gotten balls deep into this. This is a sports show, everybody. I have gotten balls deep into this because I replayed PS4 version and then I rewatched Ascension to 3, all the cutscenes. So I watched the entire thing. I could have replayed God of War 3
because I have the whole lore in your head right now.
Got the entire lore, and then the problem is, I barely fucking lost. It revised some things where I need answers, and I'm just so for it because the fourth one had an emotional journey for me. Then I think I talked about not last time, but a couple times on the show. This one, it can either have an emotional journey or not. But I even went as far. I don't mute on social media. I have this player be played kind of mindset of looking into spoilers. I went as far as like muting. So Ragnarok's muted, God of War is muted, Kratos is muted, Thor's muted, Odin's muted.
Boy should be
muted. Boy. Like it is just, and because of that game, I call my nephew boy. I don't go like, hey, it's only a boy. The boy's 15 years old. I'm like, boy, his birthday was the other day. I have the car say boy. And then so those who know me, look, I've been following this damn series since I was like 12 years old, and it hasn't really given me anything to not want to follow it. It's very Nintendo-esque in PlayStation, if that makes any sense. Where you can have you for all these long generations. I still get excited for Mario game. I still get excited for Pokemon. I still get excited for Metroid. Zelda, it's hit or miss. Like I don't need to play not Twilight Princess, but Skyward Sword because it's fundamentally structured differently. And plus, I do feel I have played the best form of Zelda.
Skyward Sword, you play if you can get it for cheap. Like you say, that $30 threshold, that's Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. If you get it for like $30 or less, with that's Skyward Sword. That I wouldn't. It's a Wii game. Remember, it's a repackaged Wii game, and I mean, I remember some things from that game, but there's just like some things I just don't.
It is a very Wikipedia game.
Yeah, Twilight Princess, I remember moments, right? Wind Waker, I remember moments. Even Breath of the Wild, I remember moments in those games. Majora's Mask.
Breath of the Wild is just so goddamn
But like
good.
Skyward Sword, I'm just like maybe like 2 things that I remember from that game, and then the rest is just like okay, all right. Maybe not the best Zelda either. Like she wasn't that great. And just yeah.
Is that up for debate? Because I think structurally, if the one who bucked the trend of stereotypes would legitimately be Wind Waker Zelda because she's a pirate.
Yeah.
So like I like the personality, but she felt the least Zelda-esque.
Well, that was the point. Yeah, that was the point. She was in hiding. They hit her, and
which Wind Waker is actually probably my favorite Zelda aside from Breath of the Wild. Like there's even debate that you can make that Wind Waker is better than Breath of the Wild.
Well, people make that debate all the time. Like I'm surprised that the Switch doesn't have Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD on there because that's like easy money for them.
And I don't know if I need a Twilight because this is my problem with Twilight Princess. It's a 50-hour game, but truthfully, it could have been 25 because you have to revisit a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I understand that's the dynamic of what they did with their dungeon
You're riding
games.
a horse most of the time.
Yeah, but the wolf thing was cool. You know,
Yeah.
like fine, because that was actually my first Zelda game that I ever played out. Because remember, like, you know, when I was in SNES and all that stuff, when you're younger, I'm like 7. You don't play them Zelda games when you're 7. My parents didn't play games like that, so you couldn't get that help. So it came in later, and then I played Twilight Princess when I got my Wii. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then I just kind of went everything on it that I wanted to, and I played, you know, when Nintendo had the expansions and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I played the other ones, of course. And I even like what they were doing, like Link's Awakening. That was cool.
Yeah.
Like, I like going to Kohana Island or Village in that claymation cutie. I would actually take that. I think they should do that with a Link to the Past. I think would probably be the next one that they should play with. Or those. It depends what you want to do with Wind Waker. Actually,
Yeah.
if you do a Wind Waker remake, then you should just remaster the two little side stories, the Wind Cap stuff,
Yeah.
or whatever they called it. Ooh.
Yeah. I played
Storming now, boys.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no Nintendo. Oh no, Andrew. So it was Storming now, boy.
So I'm God of War. I'll get the PC version. Like Epic Games always has their coupon that they give out. That's like it'll probably be discounted eventually. Like Sony's putting all their games on PC, which is great for me. I don't have to buy a PS5. So
you would need a remote anyway. I think people need to realize why this is important to me is because this game is justification of me getting a PS5 and remote. Like look, I wasn't kidding. I told
this
you
is
all
the
that.
first. This is the first one that's like, oh yeah, this is for this.
Yeah, and what cracks me up is people are like, well, really, it's just a maxed out PS4 because it was developed to be an all-out PS4 game. Okay, and it doesn't mean it has 120 frame rate.
Yeah.
I can't speak FPS. I'm good. That's what I had the TV for. When the true PS5 games come out, which I would venture Returnal was actually one of them, not Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or technically Forbidden West, and that I have mixed feelings on that game because I have the Game of the Year list, and that is actually not in the top 3. For it, which is surprising because
they're remaking the first Horizon.
Again, yeah. Oh no, you should definitely play the first one. First one's superior.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for because they're remaking it.
Yeah,
like, there's no point in me getting the first version of it on PC if they're just gonna remake it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't replay the first one, but it was damn good.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's half an hour.
Any other thoughts on gaming?
I mean, well, I guess there's not really. There's like this is the end of the year, so that's basically my gaming taste for now. I'll try and I gotta dedicate the time. Like Yakuza, I want to beat this month. I really do. Sonic is gonna, like I'm gonna stop everything for Sonic. Like I'm installing it right after the show. And I don't know if I'll stream tonight. I have to.
Hey, see, this is why I love it when you buy games to stream because I'm one of like the creepers who watch it, so I can be like, "This is my cup of tea."
Yeah. Oh no!
And I did that with Rabbids. Unfortunately, so when I watched you play last week with Rabbids, I was in the final world. I'm like, oh, oh no.
Yeah.
Because Rabbids is a back and forth game. Because you always tell me, yeah, you can get free. I'm like, yeah. But like turn-based strategy, man, if you can't hook me, if you can't keep me invested, I will. That's why everybody loved Persona 5, and I'm like, I understand it's a JRPG. And, okay, so the consequence of JRPGs, and we talked about this the last time it was a game episode, is that they are purposely too long to get to the point. I'm a very to-the-point guy. I am the Dave Chappelle wrap it up meme that they're going from there, and doing that. I need to figure all that nonsense out.
JRPGs do not speak to me anymore.
But they have good epic battles, and that's the thing. Like,
I get it.
It's like I don't want to discount it and not make it seem like it isn't good shit. And like, there's parts of Persona 5 that I like. I put 20 hours into it. I think it's really chill. But the whole thing of like, I have to go basically dungeon crawling, and you're basically on the last chapter of a prologue in theory, even though I attacked the first Heart Castle. And I'm like, this is people telling me it's like game of the year, and engagement matters. It's cheap thrills, but cheap thrill games are just like, okay, you do the bump and you're ready. Whereas, with my gaming, I need that dopamine hit. I work in a very intense field. I deal with people. You do too. Yeah. Sometimes I have to question my existence. I wonder what the hell I'm doing with my life. And then going on text crawls for 50 minutes doesn't give me that kind of release. No. Whereas there's Celine, who kept dying in Returnal. And I'm like, this bitch. And then all of a sudden, I figured it out. And then I'm like, on this one good run, I'm like, am I feeling my PS5 adapter? I'm like, oh my God. So that's a tale of two cities games, because I can appreciate the JRPGs. One of my best friends is like, oh, you just don't like him as long as I've known you. I'm like, I have played them. I just don't understand why it has to be like the 90 hours. If you just shave 30 hours, I can make this 60.
Yeah, no, I was looking at my list of games that I've beaten this year, and I think the longest it was probably Death Stranding. That's the longest game I played to this year.
It was 45 hours for me, I believe.
Because I'm close to beating 100 games. Like a lot of that were like indies and little arcade titles and stuff like that I just blast through. But like,
can we shout out to Kojima? I'm not gonna sell my studio so I can make the games I want to make. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was a walking simulator. It's just the gameplay is walking. Everything else is just chef's kiss.
Yeah. It's all about strategy and how you get from one point A to point B, which is like any other video game. You get from point A to point B, but instead of just like shooting and beating the crap out of things, you're just trying to get there.
Yeah, and just
fucking mountain.
Shout out. Yeah, it got.
I climbed the mountain. I'm just like, I climbed that mountain, thinking like. Maybe I could just like instead of like going all the way around it in a circle, I'm just gonna go up over it.
We were just idiots doing
that. Massive mistake. I'm like, I'm not gonna bring enough freaking latches and ladders or anything like that. Nope, no rope. I got stuck in a mountain. Oh man, I died just falling off of it when I missed the ledge. I'm like, oh.
Every time, and then it just falls and damages like an unit.
BB going to a catatonic state.
Oh my god, the guilt, and that's how I know that I need to get a vasectomy. So every time BB cried at my failure of being a substitute father, made me say like, bud, just snip, just a little bit of a little there. Fantastic game. Yeah. My last comment on video gaming before I guess we start the real show is like I will hit back to Yakuza after I finish God of War because I know I'm going to absorb it. And Yakuza should be a decent palate cleanser, and then the other palate cleanser will either be Bayonetta, but I think it'll be Kirby. I did buy Kirby. Kirby's very chill. I think after I go and kill Norse gods with my son, I think being a fat little pink thing that likes to eat stuff is probably the best way to end my gaming year. And then when we come back for our beginning of the new year, there'll be the Game of the Year list for everybody here to talk about.
So,
what an enjoyable opening segment.
I'll try and like my plan is I think Yakuza is just basically like will be the in between game, the same thing, right? It'll be like okay, beat Sonic. All right, let's see what Kiryu's up to. All right, then I'll play Bayonetta. Okay, let's Kiryu. Okay, Pokemon, and then like by February I'll beat Yakuza or something.
And that's fine, like because the game. It's not a game where I think you're going pure RPG, story,
right? Yeah, but also the sensible RPG. It's like what 40 hours, something like that.
Allegedly, because we're discounting. Like,
aside from us playing Space Harrier and Outrun.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Ironically, it's very GTA back in the day, like San Andreas vibe for me of what you can do to screw around. But I mean, realistically, it's probably 30 to 35, which is super manageable, believe it or not.
Yeah, at some point, if I get tired, I'll just blast through the story and be like, all right, let's get this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, 38 minutes, man.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
I guess Andrew's not here, so I guess I'll go on my little rant.
Watch him just be here the entire time and be like, I don't get the chance to play video games.
Oh, he's trying. He's trying to get into his PC now. He has like a laptop.
I don't know what to ever recommend to him because I don't know what he likes.
Yeah, it seems like he likes his old school PC games, so he's on.
Not everything could be Mech Warrior and Command and Conquer.
He's on good old games, which is where you find all those old like 90s, 2000s PC games that are that still work on modern PCs now. So that's great.
Which is so contrary to me because you know me, I can't play you if you old and busted now. I'm the new.
Yeah, and I like retro titles. I go back and like, okay, well, I haven't played this, and it's 40 years old. Let's go. But what was it? It's hard to recommend. Like, I tried Rocket League with him, but he got frustrated because people were like, it's Rocket League, and Rocket League's hard. You really do have to put in hours just to get good at that.
I put in like 15. I think I only played like a couple times with you guys. Yeah. I don't think it's hard per se. I think it's for him.
Easy to learn, hard to master.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people want to be the offensive juggernaut, and that's not how you should approach those kind of games. For me, I found it more enjoyable if I was a good defenseman, but just don't make me the goalie. You know what I mean? I have no problem being like the front man.
I will say this: he wants to be a goalie because that's like that calls to him. He loves goalies in hockey.
That's super hard.
He loves catchers in baseball, and so I try and steer him like, look, work on getting to the puck and just like working with that.
Well, not just that, but he has to fine tune and tailor his axis on his control sticks. That stuff is just like a shooter, is super important to know, where everything is moving, what's your Y and X sensitivity.
Yeah, no, that's like Splatoon is tailor made for me already. Like and I don't change much from like the default settings at all.
I go by like 0.25.
Okay.
Behind something like that, like something too wild.
Yeah, and I don't want to tweak it too much. Like now, I'm playing at my peak right now in Splatoon, man. I am absolutely.
Your boy's been doing good here.
I'm C. Okay,
I'm getting ready for us.
You having a good night? All right.
I mean, I've lost a couple, but I've been in 1,000 range.
I've been trying to up my record for the last 50 games. On the app they show you, and I think I'm back up to like 10 games above. Like, which that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I get sometimes a bad hand, so that's it.
Oh no, there are spells, and it's like at night you'll like late at night.
Just one right now.
Yeah, late at night after like 10 p.m. you'll get the people in the East Coast who are adults, like not little kids. All little kids have gone to bed, right? You'll get adults who are blowing off steam just like the rest of us, and this guy's mastered being a sniper, and it's just sniping people's heads off left and right.
See, for me, what I've noticed, and I talked to you about it, and it held true on this run through, is I gotta avoid dying too much because the refresh rate to come back, or the respawn rate, I had 1035, I had 5 kills.
Unless you got the gear. Unless you got the gear.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though, because what I like to do typically turf war is unlock all my gear.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too.
And so if I just not die, if I can just keep my def to like 2 to 3 a game, then I tend to win more. I think it's because I get too frustrated.
That's how I see it. If I'm on the floor, like each time you die, it's like 10 seconds that you have to get back.
Well, remember when we were in Mako Mart it was Mahi Mahi on Saturday, and I was like super frustrated by just our other teams, and I just kept getting caught in the mid, trying to get launched because I just couldn't break out of that habit.
I think sometimes you just got to be patient and wear people down. Like I was on what's the one? What's one of the main ones? The one with that has like that little bridge in the middle of it that goes to the other side, and you can
Eeltel Alley.
That one, Eeltel Alley.
Yeah, I'm on that right now.
Okay, so you're there, and so I've noticed like snipers just park themselves right in the middle, right?
Oh my god, yeah, and you're just like, but why?
And so I'm just like, well. And I know when good snipers are good snipers, so I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep chucking bombs at them because I've mastered chucking bombs. That's why my KD ratio's gone up because I've mastered leaving bombs and just throwing them.
Do you use the shaker one? Because I have the shaker one on this.
I'm using the original weapon, the splatter shot with the the shield and all. Like it's I changed from the arrow spray because like I was getting the points. But I couldn't
get the damage.
Yeah, I wasn't getting damage, so people would just not hunt me down, and like the trade off was just not working out. So I'm like, oh, let me go back to the original weapon. Okay, I have an actual sidearm, like the side weapon that actually can scare people and kill people, because the arrow spray's little freaking dinky thing doesn't kill you at all. So like I think I've only killed like one person with that out of.
It's very hard to kind of get there.
So like I just chuck it in the middle, just like okay, boom, boom, and they have to back off, boom, because their scope does not reach long enough, and you can throw farther than their scope. So just like keep pushing them back, and if they're trained on somebody else, they won't be able to move, and I'll just kill them. And that
I just love messing with them with the cart.
Oh no, that was perfect. You just
I would literally come straight to them, and they're like, "Oh fuck!"
Just bull rush them, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic because I have to prepare for what weaponry we're going to use over the weekend.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is. I'll probably still keep the same thing that you saw me with Sunday because I was doing fine.
Depends on the mode, right? If it's splat zones, and I'm just like, okay, well, I might switch back to the arrow spray just because I just need that to
really kind of get the land and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just keep going, just move. But my evasiveness has just gone up now.
See, my evasiveness is just whatever, it's just because my problem is I'm always like a second too long. And like in sports, ladies and gentlemen, which is what the show is, you have to just know when to throw the ball away. Know when to throw the ball away. Looking at you, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, you see how we just transitioned it? It was perfect.
We're at the 44-minute mark, but all right, so let me get on this rant. So the Boston Bruins, they...
clowns, but not clowns.
I would say... these are it's Gottlieb's goons, but it's leaning more towards Favre's felons in a sense. but it's just a really dumb thing that they did. Probably one of the stupidest things that NHL team has done quite a while from a PR perspective. So yeah, I don't know if you got a gist of what's
I've
going
been following
down.
it. I'm actually like committed to the weird shit
Yeah,
that is hockey.
yeah, no, this is one of those things in hockey that's like that. Now that it just the outcry of it, warms my heart because it means that the hockey community is changing, right? Slowly but surely. I would say hockey fans are the more, conservative side of the sports spectrum, right?
Racist.
Yeah, that too. That too. Some don't like the NBA.
Well, to quote Laszlo, fuck it, I'll say it, Mike.
Oh man. So, but anyway, so yeah, the Boston Bruins of this guy Mitch Miller, who was originally drafted by the Coyotes in 2020, during the pandemic, and this had happened before with like Montreal with the Canadiens. They had drafted this guy who had, I think he was convicted in Sweden of like distributing like pictures of like a girl he slept with or something, or naked pictures, something like that, without her permission, that type of thing.
Because
I don't know if it's a
US
revenge
people,
porn
that's a
thing.
crime.
One of those things. One of those, yeah. Basically, it's either that or revenge porn. It's one of those things, right? So he did that. He got convicted of it. All this other stuff, and he actually did request like all these NHL teams and especially the Montreal Canadiens who did like draft him, like, don't draft me. Like, just don't do it. I'll play out in Sweden, and we'll try again some other time, whatever. Like he didn't want to, but Montreal still did it anyways. And then everybody was calling them out and all this other shit. So that happened, and so the same thing happens. The Arizona Coyotes, and the funny thing is, they had like a diversity culture panel. Like their owner or their CEO became like part of the NHL's like player diversity thing. All this other stuff that was going on during 2020. They have like the first Latino owner in NHL history, first Latino team president, and all this other stuff in Arizona. And they draft this guy, and they're like, well, and then people found out, and there was already reports like, hey, he's it was already known. This wasn't like something they just found out. Like he, back in the day, from the ages of like 7 to 14 in this whatever sleepy town in Ohio, he routinely beat the shit out of, bullied a disabled black kid who
we do not condone.
Was adopted by 2 white parents and other stuff. Like just like he did that, and he did that regularly from the age of 7 to 14 to the point where he made him lick, and this kid's like developmentally challenged, and treated him like he was his friend, but he wasn't. He was just a fucking asshole, and made him lick a lollipop that they wiped on a urinal, and he had to get tested for an STDs because of that, and then eventually court order for all this. And he had to go through like community service and all these other things with these organizations, which he didn't do, by the way. They said that he did it, and these organizations were like, nope, he did not do that.
Allegedly.
So, like all that stuff happened, right? And then like he gets drafted by the Coyotes, and then like, the initial outcry of people and the Coyotes like, whoa, go, and then they finally they drafted him, but they didn't do anything with him, right? They still held his draft rights for a couple years. So they drafted him, but he wasn't eligible for a contract, and nobody else was going to pick him up. So finally, he's like basically a free agent at this point. And the Boston Bruins, and you know how shady this shit was. If you looked on the Bruins Twitter page, and I guess there are other social media pages, but especially their Twitter, they made the announcement. It's like, oh, Boston Bruins sign entry-level contract with Mitch Miller. It was plain and simple. They had just like the Boston Bruins jersey as the picture, and the post before that happened like hours before, like a day before. Like they hadn't posted anything that day. And usually like all of these sports social media accounts always post something like every hour, couple hours, right? It's like, oh, here's a dog wearing our jersey. Like they're always posting something. Like they never stand still for more than a couple of hours. But the Boston Bruins one was like empty for like 10, 12 hours. Like in the middle of the day on a weekend. So that's usually when they're posting something, and they have games that are going on. They usually post like, oh, whatever, we're traveling. Nothing was being posted. They knew that this was going to be a shit show. They knew it was going to be a shit show, and they still did it anyways. At least whoever is in charge of marketing and social media in Boston, who it's not their fault that this happened, but they knew that, oh shit, this is about to go down. So the decision supposedly.
I remember you guys talking about Mitchell or whatever his name is when he got drafted.
Yeah, we talked
about it. He was the first pick in Arizona, right?
He was the first. I think was he a first round? No. He was supposedly he had enough talent to be a first rounder. Supposedly, defenseman. They take a while to develop, but he dropped down to the fourth round
because of the controversy.
Because of all this, right? And the Coyotes, being the Coyotes. Who like you want the team to do well, but they just like something happens, or it's just like, man, this maybe they should move to Houston or wherever, you know. And so like they post this, and the evisceration by the NHL community, every single one, reporters, fans, beat writers, all these other things. It was majority, I would say, 80, you got 90% of the people that, just like, you guys are fucking assholes. What the fuck are you guys doing? There's that.
Andrew had very strong feelings on
it. Of course, yeah. Then
it's one of those things where I'm more risky to comment about the Kyrie Irving may not actually be anti-Semitic Andrew versus I'm not going to have an opinion on this Mitchell kid because I know Andrew's going to come at it. Because I'll play devil's advocate every now and then with the guy just to mess with him.
Yeah, but it's not
even I knew better.
Not this one. You don't play devil's, and people, and there's fucking assholes on Twitter that are like, oh, well, he was 14 years old.
Yeah, 14 is a very cognizant, fully developed brain.
Exactly. There's that. Yeah, because at 14 years old, in my line of work, you got to get tested. You got to get fingerprinted. At 14,
have jobs at 14.
Yeah, you got to get fingerprinted as soon as you turn 14 in my line of work, which means you're considered old enough to be doing some really shitty things. And this kid has been doing it for years, like 7-8 years, right? To the one person, and just saying all kinds of racist shit while he was doing it. So he So just complete, like, everybody was getting on top of them. You know, fucking assholes who were like, whoa, who here was perfect when they were a teenager?
I wasn't, like, bullying kids with disabilities.
Yeah, no, and doing that shit's like sociopathic psychopath shit.
It's God knows what else he made him do. Lick
exactly.
The lollipop and then lick this. I'm just saying.
And it starts at a young age. Like you guys. If you guys are okay with that shit, man, I feel sorry for your kids.
We don't need your followers. If you
exactly.
Guys even
I don't give a shit, man. I got way more followers on several things. But anyways, like, the Boston Bruins were...
oh, damn.
They sent out their GM to take questions from the reporters in a teleconference. He's like, well... And you could... I don't know if this was exactly his decision. We don't know if it came from the team president, Cam Neely, who was a former Boston Bruin player. And in hockey, they have the good old boys club, right? Just guys who have been in the game and they're old school. And there's you have this culture of guys that are not very progressive in types of things, or just very tone deaf, right? And they just want to do what they want to do, and it's all about hockey and about winning. So they're asking these questions, and he's like you could tell he knew, like you see it in his eyes, like, oh, this is
Oh, we're boned.
Yeah, exactly.
Bender, we're boned.
They thought they could sneak it under, like, oh, 2 years later, whatever. Maybe people forgot. Nah, it's the social media age, dude.
Controversy makes people put eyes on the product.
Exactly.
ESPN, which has done a decent job, with their hockey broadcasting, I would say, since they got the license rights, would be like, this is wrong because there's always a way to spin it. There's always a March. There's always a month. Yeah. There's always something to stand against and stand up against something, and for them, they're like, oh, this is perfect. Special Olympics are a very big proponent. And if you're going to have that broadcasting, people might be like, I don't want to watch these. And Boston is a very big demographic of teams.
I tweeted out. I was just like, first off, like, this doesn't help Boston's reputation as a city as far as their racial, racial, they've been notorious with players and, like, especially the NBA and the NFL, for, like, racism and all this type of stuff. Heck, KG didn't want to go initially to Boston because of it. So there was that. Second of all, this is like a kid from. He's not even a kid. He's a fucking man. People kept saying kid. He's a fucking man. All right. He's like 19 years old or 20 years old at this point. He's a fucking dude. Okay. He's not a fucking kid. So they didn't have to make this signing. They're in first place in the NHL. They've got enough prospects. He was a fourth rounder. Defensemen rarely work out, especially deep into that draft. And allegedly he had the talent for it. It was something that didn't need to happen, right? There's always new defensemen coming out every year. Believe me. It was something they didn't need to do. Supposedly other teams were in on it too, trying to see if they could, but apparently Boston was the one. So I tweeted to the Panthers GM, his Twitter account with my own personal one, telling him, like, dude, if you're ever in this situation, just protect your integrity and the integrity of the franchise over doing this. I'd rather we be in last place than do this. Yeah. Like, this kid is not going to be this fucking asshole. It's not going to be a savior of a franchise. So there was that.
And I do think that there's a comp sometimes with, I'm going to really, it's going to go, it's from left field, but it's something. Dante Stallworth killed a guy, and he still got to play in the NFL. Yeah. And it was a drunk driving, situation, but there is leniency to a degree.
It's happened in hockey. There was a guy, Craig McTavish, who played for the Oilers, won Stanley Cups with them and all that stuff. When he was a young, starting out in the NHL, he was in jail for 2 years because he involuntary manslaughter from vehicular homicide from drinking and driving, and he killed a woman. And he still talks with that family.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Like, he's like, because they were like, oh, we got to talk to, like, he's like, he felt so guilt, like he's like I can't, like, I'm a part of their lives forever, because of what I took away from them. So but he did his things he still does. He goes around schools and places, talking about dangers of drinking and driving. Like, he lived it. But this guy hasn't done shit to prove that he's changed. And that was the other thing. That some people are like, oh, he was 14. But what has he done since then to show...
No one's going to hold accountability of what he did at 14. That's
exactly.
The thing. Like, all the stupid stuff that you do.
But somebody pointed out...
It's not stupid stuff. It's wrong stuff.
But somebody pointed out, okay, 14, accountability, whatever, 14-year-olds, we get it. We get that. Even someone as insane as that doing that shit. But as an adult, as he is now, we got to hold him accountable for his actions now because he hasn't done anything to warrant this, to warrant being signed to an NHL entry-level contract. Okay? And the Bruins didn't even give the minimum. They didn't give him the minimum. That was the other thing. It's like, well, they could have just stuck the no. They gave him more than what was allowed.
Bigger money.
Meaning they outbid some other teams, and I bet those teams are keeping quiet as to who they are. And so I'm all over the place trying to get to this, but
I think you hit a strong point.
Exactly.
Is the fact that they not only did they misappropriately vet him, they also didn't sign him to a minimum amount of money. They put it in incentive because he probably wasn't going to play over there.
So there was that holding him accountable as an adult, which people were doing because, like, what have you done, dude? What are you doing? You're just sitting around, and you're playing on in the USHL, which is like, I don't know what level of minor league hockey it is, but it's pretty low. Okay, you're in the USHL, but you're not doing anything. You're not like Craig McTavish going around doing freaking going to schools, drinking and driving, doing all these other talking to people, like just being that. You're not doing any of that. You're not volunteering anywhere. You're not doing well. Here's my black friend. You don't even do that. You don't have Instagram photos of you with like, here's my black friend. You don't even do that. Like,
I think that makes it even more racist, Francisco. It's like
at least it's an effort.
If the inner Andrews come in, because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it in a very Dennis Reynolds tone, and I hope Andrew is able. You can't just go there and be like, this is my black friend, this is my disabled friend. There's some things you don't. There's some things. That's like Kyrie Irving be like, I'm not anti-Semitic. I have a Jewish friend. There's some things that you don't come back from.
It reminds me of the episode where the Wolf Cola got in trouble for Boko Haram, and they went on the news, and then people find out he hates dogs.
Yeah, like sometimes it's the fact that Mitchell did is something that's so extreme.
Yes,
that you can't really find a way out to say unless there's your own accountability.
I will be like, look, it's hard to come back from that, right? That's gonna follow him for the rest of his life, especially now with social media. Like you just search his name, it's all over the place. But like,
and it's pretty egregious of events as
exactly.
And, like I've seen, and we have like we tip, and you know what? Because F him, because I have to always insult him when I get a chance. You have Deshaun Watson, who has allegations of sexual assault, sexual battery, suspended for 11 games, and his whole basis is like, I didn't assault them. They had consensual sex with me. And then you have to really parse that. And it might be something that could be a toss in the air, truthfully. You know, taking away the tribalism that we sometimes have on opinions and then actual facts without being there. The truth is that, okay, maybe you might consider it was consent, but you also had to do some kind of pleading of, please touch my pee-pee. Whereas for this guy, he was just like, hey, look, this lollipop. Where was that lollipop? It was in a Euro cake. All this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how you fix that. You know, there is no charity donate. Like, you can't, man. I don't listen. I'm gonna say it,
and I get it.
The Special Olympics ain't gonna take his money and apology. They're trying to curtail away from for being less than human. This man has obviously debased them in such a way at 14, which is pretty knowledgeable and educated and mature for the human race.
Yeah, exactly.
Not mature for his age. I'm sick of that nonsense.
Yeah,
it's not. 14 is mature for the human race, and I'm not talking about weird marriages, creepos.
Yeah. But at least, like, make the fucking effort, dude. Like, be sincere about it. That was the other thing. He was supposedly told to apologize and all this other stuff. Like back when he was doing this shit at 14 in the court order. But he was completely insincere about it. The judge even was reprimanded him for it, reprimanded him for that, all that type of stuff. And his parents are the same fucking thing because his dad is like retweeting all kinds of shit, trying to give him a chance. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. So yeah, but the NHL community finally, days later, the Boston Bruins, Gary Bettman stepped in. The commissioner of the NHL was like, "Oh, he's not eligible to play for in the NHL." He was like, "You guys didn't even come to us about this." Like the Boston Bruins really tried to sneak this in. Their own players were interviewed about it right before their big game against Toronto, big division rivalry game, which they lost, by the way. In Toronto, and you had players, Patrice Bergeron, who actually donates and actually has a suite at every Boston Bruins home game for disabled children, by the way. That happened. Brad Marchand, who on the ice, complete dick, off the ice, really great human being, was just like, well, I don't know if you'll fit here, like you could tell they didn't want to answer questions about it, and
they don't know the guy,
and yeah, that too, and also like man, I can't believe we're fucking have to answer like about this shit. Like you could tell that's what they were thinking. Like their Boston Bruins management completely ate it with this, and so finally, like the Boston Bruins have parted ways with Mitch Miller. I'm sure. I don't know who the fuck is. He did make an effort. I did find out who his agent was. His agent is actually African American.
Oh my god!
So you could tell. So that was the effort that was made, and so that man made his money. All right, and I got it. Okay, as an agent, who was also a lawyer, by the way, of course, right? So I see it. But but look, if this kid wants to play pro hockey, because people are like, oh, you should give him a chance. Look, NHL, he doesn't have to play here. He can go to Russia. Russia has the KHL. They pay pretty good over there, right?
I thought you were going to go somewhere completely different with that statement.
Oh, okay.
And why you'll play for Russia. And I appreciate you for not going to something that I was probably going to say.
Oh boy.
Because I mean, there are some things that are known of foreign nations and what they do to people who have disabilities. I'm just saying.
Oh well, I was about to say that Russia kind of is into that, so.
Well,
he'd fit right in.
One of us had to say something.
I mean, they've got a fucking war with the Ukrainians, so go fuck themselves, and we're no longer broadcasting in Russia, so I can do that. All right, well, we're at the 1 hour mark. We actually talked about sports, so Charles, we're for non-sponsors, people, places, things, concepts, what have you. Over last week, my non-sponsor's already up there. It's Mario and Rabbids, Sparks of Hope. Right, I already told you about it for the most part. I like the combat. The changes to the combat weren't that drastic in this one compared to the first one. So if you played the first one, it's not that much of a difference. The only difference is the Sparks, really. The Sparks, who are Rabbids and Luma mixed, and they give you these special powers. Like they have like different elements and stuff like that to help you out. So that's cool, and lasted me, like 35, 40 hours on the first playthrough, getting through most of the game. They have 3 different difficulty levels. I played probably half or maybe 2/3 of the game at normal difficulty, and I was just like, no, I just got to beat this game. So I set it to easy, and so you can play it.
Do you find that going on easy, cheapens the experience or makes it just better for you? I'm curious.
With this one, it's I could tell I was, because the strategy element's still there. It's a strategy game, so I still got to plan out my movements and try. It did satisfy me because I still had to put forth try and make the combos to try it felt good because
I feel like for any turn-based game, I would have no problem just putting on easy because really it's not a difficult game. It's just more HP and health.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with this, the enemies are easier to kill. They don't kill you as easily. So that's the change. And you still it still felt satisfying if I could take out everybody in one turn, because that meant I planned out everything just perfectly where I could do it in one shot and very efficiently. So I still got satisfaction out of that. Instead of just grinding and just oh my god, I died once, I died twice, and trying to get the perfect thing. This one is either way. But anyways, this is a good game based on Mario Galaxy. If you love Mario Galaxy,
which we do.
There's some references here, but for the most part, loosely based on that. And music's fine. I like the music in this game, and it's not very Mario-y in comparison. Most of the enemies are not from Mario; they're mostly rabbits, and but either way, Mario and Rabbids, Sparks of Hope promo code. Gosh, man, what's the thing in the game? I'm not sure.
Say Rabbids.
Yeah, Genie. She's one of the machines in the game. There we go. Okay.
I'm up. All right, so Halloween might be over, but sometimes it's always okay to continue on the spooky season. And no, it does not consist of like weird serial killer stuff. Stop watching Dahmer, ladies and gents. I just, stop loving and normalizing and being intrigued to serial killers and people who ate people. If you just do what we did back in the day when we got a cut in a boo-boo, we just sipped our own blood a little bit. Just deal with your psychotic tendencies that way, or eat sushi because it's raw. But speaking of eating blood, and I think you're drinking blood, and you know what this is, I have been watching What We Do in the Shadows television, the TV show. I originally watched the movie like 4 years ago, and I kind of make it my Halloween haunt, even though I didn't watch it this year. Instead, what I decided to do, as this person's trying to kill me, Splatoon, is start the show. And I started the show like last year, and I only got like 3 episodes in, and I was like, I don't know. It feels like it wants to be too much of its own thing. And you were one of the, winds beneath my wings who said, no, you just got to give it a chance. And I told you,
get through that first season and get to the second.
And we got through that first season because the first season, I don't really have much thing of memorabilia that I recall being like, it stood out. Like there's some good quips, but I felt like the characters didn't get into their own. And then we got into season 2, and that was kind of like the game changer, especially how they ended up with Guillermo just trying to, compel himself to not be Van Helsing like. And it's been on for 4 seasons.
It's the best part is he's a vampire hunter.
Yeah, and he's just trying to deal. It's just hysterical. Yeah. It's like basically someone in the Nazi party finds out they're Jewish. So there we go. We'll bring it all together with Kyrie later. And I'm like, yeah, I can get behind it. But I have been like storm watching all the episodes, and I finally started like the first couple episodes of season 4, and I'm just cracking up, man. Season 3 is really strong, really strong. Matthew Berry as Laszlo, the way he enunciates things. Some people love the whole Jackie Daytona episode. I love the barrister episode. And when he goes in the court, and then he's just talking about his boy, how he has him, he's my good friend, my smell, my rotten cheese, my sweet baby child. And then when they go to the wedding, and it just has a lot of humor, but it's really just a shout out to Matthew Berry, the way he enunciates things. So season 3 has the siren episode, which may be my favorite episode because you have the girl from Staten Island want to be the siren. You have Nadja and Nandor just trying to do their own thing. And then, like, Matt is just like, I'm just going to go. Laszlo's like, I'm going to go with Colin Robinson, who everybody hates. Yeah. And I think Mark Proch does an excellent job just cracking me up with it. But he's like, we go from there, and you laugh, and you cry, and you have fun with it. But that episode itself, when they go to Best Buy, and I swear to Christ, man, I had to send it to you. Because now you need to tell me, can I really hear the difference between a 5.1 and a 7.1? Well, I think Mr. Kramer said I'm a little bit of an audiophile.
Is any of this any good, or is it just shit?
Yeah. He's like, what is this little spider thing? But when he just goes, now I think what you're trying to tell me, darling, is that the 5.1 is fine, but really it's a 7.1 that I should be going to. And I was just like, this is literally what started and what happened with Ramona at the end of the day. There is nothing structurally that says I had to get the OLED whatsoever needed in between. And I saw this and I sent it to you. And then I'm like this. And then the other episode is when they get put on the vampire castle, and he goes like, I became a vampire to drink blood and fuck forever, not push pencils, damn it. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm like, I feel this as a lawyer, like when I got into the game of things. And then you get the whole objection. Why? Well, what did you think I said? I'm like, I have literally muttered things under my breath when I first started. So I was just done. It is a very funny show. When they put Guillermo in the damn casket, or he puts him in the damn casket, and his whole belief is to just give him a whole bunch of Oreos and milk as this thing. I'm like, what is this logic? Because the joke I was making at work is because I didn't really go prep shopping for this Halloween, or not this Halloween, this hurricane too much. I said, I have a whole bag of Oreos and leftover Halloween candy. I think I'll be fine, which is legitimately what I have there. I'm not stressing it whatsoever because, for our non-Florida people, we may have a hurricane or tropical storm coming up. Yay. But so I'm just like cracking up. So it is mindlessly entertaining. I like him. I like Colin. Nandor is good. Sometimes, like the Nandor, fitness attack was kind of a funny episode. Nadja's hit or miss for me. I think actually Nadja's a good protagonist when it's not a focused episode on her. She's better to me as the straight man of comedy than anything else, coming into it. Like when he's like, they have a very sweet relationship, and when they're talking about like, oh, the one time we tried to have an orgy, we cannot give his name. It's like, I'll fucking say his name. It's Mark. It's something about Matthew Berry, and it led to me just going on all his other BBC shows. So Matthew Berry, follow us on the Twitter, Charles the True, Dan Frioles, FJOJR, Sports Goofs, because it's just the enunciations. It is good. It's renewed for 2 seasons more. Yep. It's on FXX, so if you have that broadcast station, go ahead and watch it. It's on Hulu. Watch it on the Hulu. I watch it on Hulu. It's just a good time, man. So I enjoy it. It's the quips. So I would say that promo code, because I just talk about a lot Matthew Berry. That's fine. It's like how some people love Ron Swanson so much in Parks and Rec. They might not watch the show, but they love Ron. That's like the ability. Because I know people who hasn't watched Parks and Rec, they're like, oh, the guy with the mustache, right? I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah. So that's the effect that I feel. So that's my non-sponsor of the week. Promo code Matthew Berry.
Yeah, no, I started rewatching some episodes now.
I'm glad.
I rewatched the casino one. It was like,
so good.
Oh man,
this is just how we speak in Tucson, Arizona.
Not just with the Rat Pack thinking it's the same guys.
Oh my god, yeah. It's like, okay, it's like Frank Sinatra's Asian, darling.
Yeah.
And then Guillermo's just like, I'm gonna travel. And Guillermo's an interesting character to me because it's like it's the actor who really makes it because he's so subdued. And then, like, I there's times when you like Nandor and there's times when you don't like Nandor. And then the Gale episode was the one that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like him. But the shade that he was throwing everybody and his sleep slumber when he calls Laszlo the laziest vampire you ever met, and if you can't volunteer your 2 hands because they're always on your cock, I was laughing. I was just howling. And my father's like, what the hell are you watching? He's just laughing. It's a weird show, and if you get past the whole vampire thing, which for some people they don't like, it can be super enjoyable. And I made the mistake of going with the katana on this round.
Oh man. Okay.
The siren episode, man. Yeah. All I gotta say. Anybody want to get my fancy little trinket? He's like, oh, fuck this bat. And
you're gonna love.
I love Daddy Laszlo already. He feeds with Count Chocula. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but I was coughing on air, man.
You're gonna love, season 4 with what's going on. So, all right. So, man, where were we? I don't know.
We went from non-sponsors. We could talk other sports.
We can pop onto the petty train. Let's pop on there.
Let's do baseball.
World Series. Yeah. I watched one game.
I watched nothing, man.
Just like the one in Philly, the game, that first one where they had like 5 home runs. That was fun. And then that was it. And I was like, okay, forget it.
I had felt that Houston was going to win this year. Pena is an arrogant little shit. I'm just saying, and it makes me not like him.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's because I'm just bitter, but I'm bitter. This was, and I was hoping Andrew was here because I was literally going to start it so he can talk trash, but he's not. This has literally been like one of the worst sport weekends I've had in my entire life. You get decimated.
Yeah.
The Astros win the World Series, and then we have the Petty Train Deluxe, which will take a nice spot to Nashville.
Yeah.
Good for Dusty.
Yeah,
he's always likable.
That's the only
good for Trey Mancini.
There's a couple guys on there. Yeah, Trey Mancini with the cancer, all that stuff, and he came back and now he has a ring. So there's that. You got Dusty Baker. He won a ring as a player, but
always got short end of the stick.
Yeah, Marlins beat up twice.
I feel like there's some irony that he beat his prized possession of Bryce Harper that he had for like a season and a half.
Yeah, there was always with the pitching in 2002, the Giants where they probably should have won and he just like screwed that up. Yeah. So he finally gets another shot at it, 20 years later, and boom. And probably what is his last stop. He's like 73 years old.
Yeah, I think now it's just trying to get all those bench managers prepared to be the heir apparent.
Basically, yeah, Bruce Arians it. He's going to Bruce Arians it,
Yeah, unfortunately, he's probably going to select somebody who's not, as bad as Todd Bowles was or is currently.
Yeah, and the Astros have better talent, relatively
much better
compared
talent.
To Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there you go.
Yeah.
So there's that, and the Astros are.
Champs, sure.
Hey, man.
But my buddy just sent me a text that it was the second least viewed World Series of all time. So people really didn't care.
Yeah.
Because Houston is not a likable team, even when people from the damn cheating saga is still there.
The teams that
and Jose Altuve is trash, and he was garbage throughout the entire thing.
I think Philly was compelling enough, but there are a lot of people that had hatred for Houston. So as soon as they saw it was Houston versus Philadelphia, they was like, "Nah, forget it." I
think the big markets are in the NL East, so there's going to be some pettiness too.
Yeah,
Mets fans going to win the World Series now.
Yeah. Well, the Mets, if it had been Mets versus Astros, it would have all the New Yorkers, the New York market, that would have gotten it. If it was Astros, Dodgers, that would have broken records.
Oh, yeah, I would have watched it.
Yeah, people.
This is like this is the first World Series I did not watch a single game. I was just that disinterested.
Yeah.
I was like, no, because I felt like I felt like you knew the inevitable was coming, and it just wasn't entertaining baseball. There was nothing like except for one game from at the stat box. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's fine. But it was just sometimes your best games are in the championship series, and that's okay.
Yeah, the Astros, but even this, like the playoffs this year, the Phillies going through their run was like you have to have like two super dominant teams going through, or two large markets, or you have David versus Goliath. Like you got to have that. Like the Phillies were David, right? But the Goliath was the Goliath that everybody really hated, and we're just like, fuck it, we're not going to win. I don't care. And I think people didn't watch out of spite, to be honest.
It just wasn't interesting.
Like sometimes the Astros as David isn't as compelling as, let's say, the Yankees as David. You know.
Well, I mean, really, I think a team that would have been more invested would just been like if Cleveland had made it or such, because I think teams there's a bit of people when their teams don't make it that want to not see the ones that have been heavily shoved down their throat since preseason rankings to the duration series, and that's what Houston was. The Dodgers, we all kind of laughed about it because I knew they were the best fit team in the NL, but we knew there was going to be something screwy that happened. Something screwy did happen. But it was just with Philly, and it went 6 games, so that's good. But it's just an indictment on the Houston franchise for not being that cutthroat enough.
And even like the games, because the first game was like the Phillies came back 6-5. Okay, fine. But then the second game was like the Astros were pulled ahead early, super early, and it was like, okay, it wasn't even a contest after that. And then the Phillies with their 7 home runs, or their 5 home runs and 7-0 shutout was like, okay, cool. But then like the fourth game, which made me feel like, oh, the Astros are winning this, because each time the Phillies got a win, the Astros would come back and just like, all right, we'll put up a 5 spot, and that's it. The game was over. And then the game 5, which like the Astros were up like 3-0 for most of that game, and the Phillies just kind of got 2 runs late, kind of in a desperation type of thing.
Yeah.
And then finally, like the last game was just like it
would roll over and die. Exactly.
So it didn't, like, if you look at the final scores, okay, 2 blowouts, and then like 2 3-run wins, and then like 2 1-run games. It wasn't as
engaging.
Yeah, it wasn't as close as you would say. If you had watched the games, like this wasn't even close. The Astros were clearly way better than the Phillies, and the Phillies they just rode hot bats and hot pitching the first few rounds, and then just kind of they couldn't contend with the team that had everything that they had but better. So that was it. Justin Verlander actually won a game in the World Series,
and he still gave up like 4 runs.
Exactly, it wasn't even that great. So
I don't know.
One of the greatest regular season pitchers of all time.
Time to capture this. The Petty Train doesn't really run with Verlander. The Petty Train, Choo Choo Charlie, only came out when he was complaining about juice balls.
Yeah,
and then I'm like, well, you have to explain to me how you can win legit. You complained about juice balls when you won the Cy Young. So I felt like it was a little pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
But I guess that's good for him. If anything, it brings him closer to the Roger Clemens. Because here's the thing about Hall of Fame pitching. You have 2 divisions. And even though Roger Clemens is not in the Hall of Fame, I'm talking about talent-wise. Yeah. When you're a pitcher, we got 1 ring and a couple of yearly awards out of it. And then there's like, I have won multiple damn rings.
Yeah.
And all the other accolades that come into it. And that's what I call the Roger Clemens, stats. 2 rings, 4 Cy Youngs?
Yeah.
Arguably considered one of the best pitchers out there that is not named fucking everybody else. Hold on, I can't think because I'm like trying to not die.
Ryan and
Nolan.
Randy Johnson.
Yeah, you do. Randy's debatable. I think Randy gets a little bit of
Nolan,
a
Ryan,
stain.
and
Nolan, and I would say Tom Glavine. But Glavine only
Greg Maddux. There you go.
That disgusting Atlanta team that went to 2 but only won 1. It was out of pity.
Yeah,
really, that they got out of it. But that was seriously in my time, because as you know, baseball is the beginning sport for me. You know, it's disgusting what they were doing there between him, Maddux, and who's the third guy? Remind me.
Smoltz.
Yeah, John. Yeah, man. Like there was some real talent there. So I think with pitching, because you know what the thing is that with hitters, everybody gets a hitter. You never compare like the best catchers in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think when Pudge gets there, and
Pudge
then
is already in.
Is he already? Was it last year or this year he got in?
Yeah, a few years ago now.
Okay. But after
Buster
that,
Posey's probably the next one.
When Yadier and Buster go, that's going to be the new paradigm. That's going to be like the Roger Clemens equivalent concept that I'm talking about. Because with regular hitters, with all outfielders, it really they don't talk about it like that. They're talking about what? They're like, World Series records. Or not World Series records, I'm sorry. They're talking about home run records. That's when you can revert back to your regular season championships. It's like, okay, he's in his thing, but what's his regular season? How many home runs? How many RBIs?
Now with more playoff spots, they're gonna consider that more now.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Yeah, and so I think that, but pitchers, I always felt that your greatness is not attributed to.
It's funny. Jorge Posado's not in, so.
Jorge's talents were very limited. He was slightly above average. I would say defensive
he
man.
Was just he was just good with the pitchers, I guess.
Yeah. So that's fine. Like, and the catchers are very hard to get in there. You know this.
Yeah, there's only like 10 of them or something. Sheesh.
Which makes no sense.
It's
really,
like Yogi, Johnny Bench, Pudge, and I forgot some of the others, but yeah.
Yeah, and Yadier and Buster. Piazza is it? That's right. Yeah. But Piazza was kind of a hybrid. It's so
Piazza
weird.
was the first one that actually could hit.
Yeah, like when we say hit,
Pudge,
for the uneducated, it's like you not only get
hit
homers,
with power,
but you get like doubles and triples on the reg, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, him and Pudge were basically that. Yadier was basically the typical catcher that can't really hit, but really good defensively. And then Buster Posey was a better hitter, not the best hitter, but a better hitter. He won an MVP.
Yeah, so the only catchers I can tell you.
Yeah,
Joe Mauer is really the only one
I
can think of
was the other
transcending.
One. And I guess
he's up for it in I think 2 years.
Oh yeah, and like now they added a new modern whatever.
It's so tough. Like, but you've heard
8-player panel. They're gonna look at Roger Clemens again and Rafael Palmeiro and a bunch of.
You gotta listen. And I know Andrew's not here, and he's all about the letter and intent or the spirit and intent. But Clemens never got hit on the testing. I'm sorry, he never did. So you may hate it, but you can't deny it.
Neither did Barry Bonds. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you may hate it, but you can't deny it that if there's no clean testing or unclean testing, then you have to put those to it. And you know what? Those two men, I'm going to say it right now, dated November 8th, 2022 at 9:01 p.m. Those two men are the most important people that you're going to put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Because it'll
outright.
Yeah. And then eventually Bonds will get in because that's going to happen. I think eventually our generation's going to make it happen.
Yeah. We don't care.
Yeah. And then, like, eventually you can, after Bonds and a few other guys, it's like, okay, let's put Mark and Sammy in there. Why not?
Yeah, the rest of the guys, like, I don't think Palmeiro's actually.
It's all marketing anyways. It's just to market the game. Eventually, especially, like, with the popularity of baseball, they're going to try and call back to our nostalgia and be like, look, it's Mark and Sammy. They're finally in. They're going in together. Like, remember 98? Like, that's going to happen. That's going to happen before they die. Do it at least 10 years before they're like 60. Like when they're like 65 years old, that's when you do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right. Let's pop on to the petty train, Charles.
Choo Charlie. Yeah, everybody get your look, I have a segment for this. Yeah. All right, everybody, this is your conductor, Choo Charlie. Make sure you're strapped in real right. Today's view is gonna be fun. We're going a straight shot through the petty train through Pettyville. First stop is what, Francisco?
I was gonna make a shirt. I'm on Photoshop right now, and I'm looking at images of train. I'm just gonna make like a petty train.
There's a game
because I haven't made merch in a while.
I don't know if we can do Choo Charlie because there's a Choo Charles game, which is a survival game, and then there's Choo Charlie from the Dark Tower, and so like I think that's why it said Charlie Choo Choo.
Right? Yeah, trademarked.
Yeah, this is like one of the few
times.
Not
trademarked, so that's ours. Patty Trin's ours.
Like, forgive me for having nicknames. Like, I'm sorry, Papi Charlo is gonna live forever. That happens. That happens to my Splatoon. That's my Nintendo handle. That's me 5 drinks with tequila. Wash yourselves. And Daddy True stays in as well. I will pay the $400 to trade.
Stop down in Miami, Golden Knolls, absolute smack do. Can we stop in Miami? You can get your Mario things out the way.
Yeah, please. So, man, I didn't even watch it. I just knew it was going to be something funky. I'm glad we didn't go to that game. I'm glad our other
Andrew went. Didn't go to the game. Andrew went the game.
That's why I'm upset he's not here.
Yeah,
because I deserve a good beating. Because he's literally, I already know the beats. UCF is the best ranked Florida team to say. Yes, you are. I was going to give him his flowers. I was going to give him flowers, and he's not here because he wants to go be an adult. How dare he? How dare he? Mario Cristobal, I'm not liking it. And here's my problem with it. Aside from he's so Miami vibe, and I've been on that shit list with him for 8 weeks now, right? That has not been my thing. Oh, because he likes Miami? Have you ever had a girl get that? Like, that's all you need. You can be.
Yeah, the people keep showing pictures of him getting some pastelitos, and that was it. Like,
I cannot stand that. Like, I cannot stand it. Damn it! Like, you come from Pennsylvania, you all you have to go to Miami and just get yourself some guava pastries. Like, oh, this is pretty good. That's all you need. You get a little bit of the viejos playing the dominoes of the card. That's all you need, guys. Like, stop with this culture. But if he uses this excuse, like, okay, we don't have the right players that we have here to build the system I want, that doesn't jive with me, because you got to Miami to recruit and you got a lot of transfer portal people and a lot of commits. You just didn't create a functioning thing, because I think the guys that you got, you didn't scout them at all, and you're just doing hodgepodges. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke's really not that good. But then he's basically
just going on like whatever reputation. He's not going on actual fit for what's they need to get done here.
It feels like it. And what did I tell you guys about it?
Because what's the point of getting these recruits if you can't really use them?
Yeah. I that's the thing I never. It only makes sense when it's Saban, right?
Or like the other thing is like, okay, you can get all these fucking 5-star recruits, whatever, but like, are you actually good at coaching?
Listen, I have
can you make concerns. Like 3 stars into guys that should have been 5 stars?
Yeah, I have grand concerns over anybody who loses their championship game and then it's coming over. Most people quit and don't coach the championship game. He didn't do that last year, if memory serves me correctly. And I'm just not about it. And granted, yes, our leading receiver is injured, whose name I forgot already. The guy who was replacing Rambo, Charleston Rambo was a stud at Miami and not doing anything. Mike Norvell's doing good. He's winning the games he ought to win, and he's mostly being competitive, and that's good.
He chipped away. He's whatever, had to go through the growing pains, and now he finally has the full squad. None of Jimbos or Willies, refuse. And Jimbo's having a good time at Texas A&M. That's great. That's fun, even though the Gators won, but still, something at least. A consolation prize is him losing, so that's fun. Meaning, is he actually a good coach? He's just Jameis pulled him out of a lot of things,
What you're saying is because Jameis can't even beat Andy Dalton of all people for being.
Hey, good college quarterback. That's it. That's all he needed to be.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's see, what was it? Okay, so that was all I wanted to do on the petty trend. That's all I wanted on that stuff. So let's move on, Charles. I'm gonna pull up here on the screen the NFL scores. Let me just start the virtual camera if you want to see that on here too. But I'm sure you're looking at it on your phone or whatever the scores.
I'm physically incapable.
Oh no, you're playing Splatoon, Doy. Whatever. I'll just go down the list.
That is how dedicated we are right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I looked at the scorecards earlier today.
Yeah. I watched.
There's a lot of that's coming in on this.
Barry McCockner pulled out his week review, which is always fun.
Tom Brady. He is hysterical to me.
Oh, he's funny. He's like the funniest guy on in sports shit posting Twitter and social media. Like he's great. Puppy time. That's always great. At the end of his videos. And he's always talking like his wife's sleeping.
Ooh, I just did an entire wipeout with my 52 Delco.
Hell yeah.
I can get behind this.
I did not a wipeout, but I saved it too. I gotta upload it to YouTube. I killed an entire team 4 in a row. one after the other. Anyways, all right. First stop, the Eagles are still undefeated. They beat the Texans, which, but they're looking good. Your boy A.J. Brown is doing things with making Jalen Hurts look good. And I talked about Jalen Hurts last year. I was like, hey, man, I like what this guy's selling, compared to... and so, hey, they're looking good. Philly's looking good. What could have been for a lot of teams, right? Could have been for you guys. You could have used them in the last game.
No, it's not even what could have been. What we had.
What we had, that's true.
Some breakups have to happen, but if you want to get back to it, you have to find a way to keep it back. We couldn't do that with AJ because he wanted money and we just didn't want to pay.
He was worth it.
I would have paid.
Making Jalen look good. All right, the Patriots beat the Colts, who fired their coach and hired a guy off of TV, a former player.
So explain to me
how experience at all in the NFL.
But the NFL, it's Jeff Saturday, so let's not even act like longtime center who had no experience. Okay. I mean, shit, you should have just gone bold and gone for Peyton. Yeah. At least he can dissect some stuff. But all that is a head scratcher, and I would feel slightly insulted if I was part of that staff. I'm like, bro, what? Because his highest coaching level was high school, which isn't very, monument. Did we just lose after I've been doing so good? I hate these games sometimes. When they would do that, and Fred Gregg had to go, everybody had to go, everything was built badly. Yeah. I want Matt Ryan to get another chance.
Yeah, but he's.
But do you want to come into a situation with a guy who's never coached having philosophical tendencies?
Well, he's washed at this point. I think Matt Ryan's washed. He has to go He has to go someplace else. He can't be there. He has to do like Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer went to the Raiders, right? Like at the end of his career, or the Cardinals.
No, he went to the Cardinals. Yeah, he got traded to the Raiders, and then he faked that he was going to retire because he didn't want to go to that shit show.
Exactly.
And then he went to Arizona, and they kept getting injured. And then Bruce Arians like, well, damn, I just want to know if I can actually coach with a real quarterback for once. And then he got Tom Brady.
Okay. What was it? So, anyways. Yeah, so the Pats beat them, and they're 5-4. Colts are 3-5-1.
I ain't sleeping on Bill Belichick, that's all I'm saying.
No, he's...
I mean, I know what Mac Jones' ceiling is, but I also know what Bill Belichick's ceiling is. Yeah. And Bill Belichick's ceiling will lift Mac Jones.
He's getting a lot out of that talent, that's for sure. Anyways, so we'll keep moving. Then, so that was the Pats game. All right, first stop on the real first stop on the Petty train. All right, we were just passing through Houston.
I got a little chub because I just saw in the background Twitch.
We are gonna stop in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh baby, 3 picks, all in the red zone, and I watched each one.
Aaron Rodgers, number 12.
Aaron Rodgers,
the MVP, 291 yards, 23 of 43 attempts. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
And those yards are all stat padding. And they could have won the game too, and he couldn't do it.
The Detroit Lions, who were previously 1-6, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Dan Campbell's their coach.
Bro, Dan Campbell.
We love Dan Campbell, but we know Dan Campbell at the same time. So, but yeah, the Lions who got out-yarded. Passing yards, slightly more rushing yards. But either way, they hung on and beat the Packers 15-9. Right? Aaron Rodgers, like, go do your ayahuasca. You know what? Go lick some toads. Apparently, people have been licking toads. The U.S. Park Service is telling people to stop licking toads, but it's the same thing that's an ayahuasca. It's just a lot stronger. So
what if the toad likes it?
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, we'll see. But either way, Aaron Rodgers. He's
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. May I?
Yes, go ahead.
What have I been saying the last 4 weeks since they got onto this losing fest? Whose fault is it now, Aaron? Who threw those weird fucking picks that had like no gas behind them?
I mean, he doesn't care anymore.
And it's not. Oh no, he cares. He's fucking pissed. Like, and I love it even more.
But is he like
faking it?
I mean, is he office spacing it? He's just gonna be like, fuck it, I'm out.
I mean, he's still getting $50 million guaranteed. So
Understood.
win for him. Win for him for being petty enough to still collect that paycheck. You should refund some money, bud, for the way that you're playing. Because his whole thing was, guys got to do better. Guys got to play. He hates all these receivers. Then talk to your, like, general manager, right?
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I'm going to not take this $50 million in the cap hit each year so we can have somebody to bring in. I don't know how these negotiations go, and that's partially on me and my ignorance because of not being given a GM spot. But, you know, it's not all his fault, though. That defense has been battered by injuries. I am cognizant of that. I am aware. And I don't know why Matt LaFleur just doesn't, for whatever reason, want to just run the ball with – and Aaron Jones is hurt, but you still have A.J. Dillon. He was a second-round draft pick that kind of leads you there. But regardless, you're still the guy throwing the balls. And legitimately speaking, if you don't throw one of those picks, you don't throw two of those picks in the end zone, you win the game.
Yeah.
Right? One touchdown and one everything else, and then you're good. That's it. That's all she wrote, kids. And I'm loving it, you know, because I do not think the Vikings are legitimate, but are they a team that if they got the hot hand I would want to avoid? Absolutely. You know, they at least close out the games, they keep it competitive, whereas there's nothing structurally working. And Rodgers just looks miserable, and I don't think there's any guys that you can sign next season that would make him want to. He's not going to retire because you still eat that money anyway, and I don't think he wants to be remembered like that. And also, there is that streak of like, I want to go out the right way. He's not hurt, but he's looking miserable, and there is no quick fix. I just want to see how he approaches this with
second half of the season, yeah, basically.
Second half of the season, but also with how you approach that with LaFleur, going with the Brian Gutekunst and what you want to do. Because who's to say that you blame the receivers, you blame the young guys, you blame this. Who's to say you can't blame your coach now? And your coach has always been your problem. I can see him doing it, and I would embrace it. I embrace that kind of chaos.
Alrighty. Okay.
And good for Detroit.
Yeah.
Good for Detroit.
Oh no, of course. The Chargers beat the Falcons in Atlanta.
It hurts that Marcus Mariota doesn't win games because I still have that little bit of loyalty to him for being my guy. But damn, dude, like some people on the Twitter hate Justin Herbert. I love him. The guy was able to come back and win with no Keenan Allen and no Mike Williams. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
He's that guy. I mean, he kind of feels like Dan Marino in some sense, where Dan Marino there was a point in the middle of his career in his prime where he just didn't have help around him, but he was still getting the Dolphins to the playoffs. You know, it's because the Dolphins were just cheap back then. Anyways, all right. The Jets beat the Bills.
Ooh, remember I said last year Buffalo didn't scare me. And I don't think, and I remember when they traded for Naheem Hines, and my buddy's a Bills fan, I'm like, what was the purpose of it? Because you could throw it 1,000 times, and I know that's their style of offense.
Josh Allen can run around and do what he can, you know?
And now he has an elbow injury.
Yep.
And everybody's going to overanalyze it to a degree. Allow me to present to you a different argument for the sake of being different than the other folks out there on ESPN, NFL Network, Barstool Sports, and everything like that. You kind of need to show that you need to run the ball when all you do is like those quick 3-and-outs, and it just hits you really hard.
The running game is Josh Allen.
Yeah, and that was the problem. You go to Naheem Hines, who we like Naheem Hines.
Yeah.
You know, but he just catch the ball. Mm-hmm. And he's good at catching the ball. The ball get catched a lot, but, you know, it's just maybe you should have gone for somebody or draft somebody because they traded away Zach Moss because he just wasn't cutting it. And that's fine. And he's over at Indy not doing anything. And this is the problem I don't like about midseason trades. And this goes for all teams. And it's going to happen when we get to the Miami train, the stop in Miami. You know how hard it is to learn a playbook? Ridiculously hard to learn a playbook. So stop with this expectation that they're going to figure this ish out this year. Me personally speaking, that's just always been my belief into it, especially offensive players. So Allen's hurt. That run defense is bad. Michael Carter ran over them, and you let Zach Wilson beat you. And you know, even though he won and he has a better record than he did last year, it is really they're winning in spite of Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
we can agree with that, right?
Yeah,
legitimately winning in spite of Zach Wilson. Now, I don't know if he's good or bad, but his stats are always kind of they're kind of ass.
It's
there. Noticeable. It is noticeable.
He is like that meme. He is one of the quarterbacks, and just period.
Yeah,
That's what he is.
Yeah, he is not him. He's just, he's just, you drafted high at number 2. And the problem is when they drafted him, there was really no other chance that you would have gotten the guy, because this is also the problem with your Mel Kipers and your formerly Mike Mayox, even though he's now on the employment list. And then the other guy, the handsome one, I forgot his name. The one that wasn't with Mel Kiper. You don't see him that much anymore. The other analyst, what I'm talking about, for the draft analyst.
Okay.
They feed you this idea that this guy is the guy, the same way of like, oh, Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett are supposed to be guys. Kenny Pickett ain't looking good. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of variables that you can say is the reason why Kenny Pickett's not looking good, but we can both agree Kenny Pickett ain't look good, and Desmond Ridder can't beat.
That's how those guys keep their jobs, because if they say that, because everybody's looking for that generational next thing, whatever, it's like there's only like 3 of them. They only happen every 4 years.
But the thing is, when you're talking about mock drafts, you're just kind of say like, this is who we think's gonna pick, because you've already been told and it's been hinted, and this is what you have. No one's gonna pick Malik Willis from Liberty in the first round. You pick him in the 3rd round, and then you don't call plays for him. We're gonna get there, kids. Yeah. But I don't know if the Jets are real or not. But at this point, the fan base, everything, it's not about whether we're real or not. It's about, can we just get to the playoffs, because we've been such a disparate and despondent franchise for so long that it matters. For some of these teams, they legitimately care if they make it to the playoffs, because that's their dedication. I respect that.
Alrighty. So good on the Jets, though, I guess.
Good on the Jets.
Sure. They pulled it out. They started with a horrendous kickoff with the guy slipped, but found a way to figure it out. All right. And the Bills are just not closing out games at all. They're not.
Yeah, and you know how you close out games? Running the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, same thing happened against the Dolphins. All right, so next, the Vikings beat Washington, the Commanders. I start getting used to that. But
yeah. That's all I can say about that team.
Yeah. Once again, the Vikings get hot, they can, beat a couple teams in the playoffs, but if not, they're not. Like, they're the only, they're like a division leader where just like, I'd be okay if I face them at the right time, But
it's all depending on Dalvin. As much as I like, little Kirk
when he's
Cobain,
going, he's going.
Can we just say he's kind of adorable?
Well, yeah, he was a Seminole.
Kirk Cousins.
All the videos. Of him on the plane. He's just a goofy guy.
Yeah, it's adorable.
He's a goofy dude.
He's the guy who goes to the cookout and says, I bought you Hennessy because I heard that's what you guys like. Yeah. And you're just like, what do you mean by that? He did a Wikipedia search. Kirk Cousins is the guy who will literally, find out your last name, go to your records, and bring it to the top of the conversation. Yeah. Oh, well, you do know that the last name Jones, was originally there just because he wants you to feel important.
He'll try to learn Spanish.
Oh, yeah. Hola. Yeah. He'll double hug your abuela.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man!
Oh my god, that's a new meme. If they keep winning, that's the meme. That's the joke. That's the meme. Yeah.
All right. The Bengals beat the Carolina Panthers.
Damn, Joe Burrow's scary now.
Well, I mean, he's not like you never.
Joe Mixon is frightening.
Oh yeah.
I won't give too. That win was just more for the fantasy football acolytes than anything, but still, I don't want none of that.
The Raiders are terrible.
Josh McDaniels is terrible.
Yeah, he's a horrible coach.
I'm gonna preface it like that. You guys can put all that you want on Derek Carr. That's what happens. He's always getting that flack, and I understand
And we said it before. Like, Derek Carr is gonna be one of those guys that's gonna be in Vegas for too long. Yeah. He's gonna be there too long. He's gonna be like Matt Ryan, who's sitting in Atlanta for too long. By the time he gets out, it's gonna be too late.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, Matt Ryan made it to the playoffs.
Made a Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, he made it to the Super Bowl. He did something. Yeah. And with Derek Carr, it's like that's as close. Yeah. He was playing
Raiders are not going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was playing as David Carr, essentially. Yeah. His brother was in there. But it really also just falls down to they deconstructed too much of Mike Mayock. See, they just released Jonathan Abraham today, or whatever their safety is. They hate so much about what Mike Mayock did as a general manager. And I get that to a degree. But what's the point? You couldn't get trade partners. Do you really think there's somebody else that's better on there? And you can't coach it, and you're not game planning it, and
this ain't the medieval times where you gotta kill everybody that.
But
monarchy,
But he feels is too Belichickian where it's like Bill would do this. Bill, y'all don't know Bill, man.
Nah,
Bill
man.
does what Bill does to win, and that's why we at this
You
juncture
can't
now like
emulate Bill Belichick.
because greatness is a hard act to follow.
None of his disciples have been able to replicate what he's done. And that's probably their problem. They're trying to replicate what he's doing.
Chasing Eric Mangini's shadow for the one time.
Man, damn. That was that was one of those. The Mangini's awesome oaf.
Yeah, you want to know why we remember his name? Because he's the only one that came close. What, one
Somewhat.
Super Bowl, or not one Super Bowl, but one playoff appearance, I think, at best?
I mean, yeah, I think he would, I was after Rex Ryan, right? So, yeah.
No, I think it was before Sexy Rexy.
Rex Ryan?
Yeah, I think it was before Sexy Rexy.
Okay, maybe. I'm not.
Maybe
I got
but I think he went 10-6 with Chad.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? You talk on it.
Yeah, with Chad
this.
before he got hurt, and then he eventually went to Miami. Yeah.
But I think he went one time, and then he had a second chance over in Cleveland. They realized, holy shit, it's Eric Mangini. We got to get rid of this guy. Eric Mangini is only 51 years old. That haunts me because he looked 51 years old then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see, 10-6 in his first season, postseason with Chad Pennington.
There we go.
There we go. And then went 4-12 the next year, and they fired him.
And then Rex came in
2008. And then Rex came in.
There we go.
Rex Ryan, the ultimate fraud of good coaching.
I think he had a good. I think he was fine. It was just that Mark Sanchez was just horrible.
The
story of the Jets. The story of the Jets. They just can't get the quarterback right.
They gave him the Carson Wentz treatment. Like Mark, like it was all on Carson. Or Mark, the same way it was on Carson.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's saying he was excellent, but I felt like if you had developed a stronger unit on that offensive line, but that's 10 years ago these days. It doesn't matter.
So that's the Raiders game.
Penny trade me.
Nothing to say about the Jags. No. All right, whatever.
I'll give the Jags props for winning. They won, right?
Yeah, they did. So,
yeah, good for them. That's it. Good for anytime the Jags win, it's good for Doug Peterson.
All right, next stop on the Penny Train is Chicago with the Miami Dolphins and the Bears. I saw that game, as you know, Charles. I watched from my moon base.
Make my monster grow.
To us, as Barry McCockner said, to us systems Viloa. And okay, Doug texted me. He hasn't really been watching games lately, and so he's like, "Oh, Dolphins don't look like Tua." And I told him, like, dude. He tweeted it out, and I had to. I felt really compelled to respond to his tweets.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna sit here and let someone praise Tua when he doesn't deserve all this praise. He deserves a little bit of it, but not all of it. Not the way a lot of Dolphins fans are doing. And like, mind you, Doug is not like as extreme as some like what Dolphins fans are doing. Online.
Doug's a sweet boy.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find the exact reply that in the thread here on my Twitter. 1 second, I almost got it.
I'll take it from here as you get it. I watched it.
Let's see the Panthers. I got it. Okay, right. So he was responding to highest passer rating in NFL. Number 1, Tua Tagovailoa at 115, and over Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like it's the Harrison Ford meme of he goes and says, "Who gives a shit?" That's how I feel anytime they talk about Tua's great stats.
Yeah.
Because they're all fucking underthrows, man.
So
they're all underthrows trying to get Tyreek or Waddle to do something.
Well, so he said it's crazy being a Dolphins fan and having a franchise quarterback. I'm like, and then I had to respond. I was just like, and I said, not sure if he's it though, because I have still not complained that Tua's it. Once he's it, I'll let you know he's it. But for me right now, he still ain't it. I need to see him close out a game. A meaningful game. Last game,
I believe that's fair.
He was bailed out by the refs because there was a pass interference that they didn't call for the Chicago Bears, with Justin Fields actually marching down the field in what would have been probably his first 2-minute drive, right, to try and win a game. Mm-hmm. So I think that was handicapped by the refs, and he's been bailed out by the defense because I think there was a pick six in this game. I don't even remember, but there was a big interception at one point, or a fumble recovery. One of those things. There was a turnover in the fourth quarter there for the Bears. And even then, Tua had 2 shots to close out the game. Like, just close it out. Just get the touchdown, 2 shots, you're done. There's plenty of times on the clock, but you get the touchdown, the game was over. And both times, no, nothing. Nothing.
Nada.
Yeah,
Zilk,
fourth and 5, whatever. They couldn't get it going. Couldn't get it done. Like nothing. Like with Tyreek and Waddle. Like when something actually mattered, right? The Dolphins could put up 35 points, and one of them I think was an actual defensive touchdown. I think that was the last one probably, or one of those. But either way, that was what was going down. The Bears had a shot at winning the game. And they got bailed out by the refs. It was over after that. So I'm just I still don't see it. I still think, yes, the Dolphins did good. I'll tell you this: the Dolphins did good, and getting Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, well, they drafted Waddle, but getting Tyreek as well, and pairing them together, and having the two fastest guy in the NFL, who can catch whatever Tua's throwing, no matter how underthrown it is. That's what's going on. And so, yeah, he's done well in the system. Mike McDaniels drawing out plays for the most part, getting into open field. That's basically the philosophy right now. Just get the receivers to open field. They got two fastest guys. They're going to find open field for the most part all over the place. And Tua's sure, fine. But I don't think it's it. We're going to head into December, actual meaningful games in their division, right? They got San Francisco, all these other teams. Like right now, this is the easiest part of their schedule. This is the easiest part of the schedule at this point. All right, they got I think they face the Packers. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will care by then. I'm not sure, but they got some actual games against actual teams coming up, and we're gonna see what happens there, right? Because by then, I think the Bills will have all of this shit. They're gonna be pissed off that they already lost a game to the Jets and to the Dolphins. So they're going to try and win the second games for sure. They'll get it going, right, as long as Josh Allen's is there. So there we go. Anyways, not it. Still ain't it. All right? Petty chain rolls on. Let's go. So we did that. Dolphins game. Next is... gosh, man, this thing always reverts back. Let's stop in Arizona.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Geno Smith, MVP. At this point, give it to him. Just give it to Geno.
Cowards.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who we should also give MVP to? Maybe when he's only been back for 3 games. DeAndre Hopkins has put in some fucking work, man.
Well, he can only do so much now, can he?
Yeah, might as well just have him, throw that ball. I love him.
Nobody. There's very few people who dislike DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, who dislikes DeAndre Hopkins? Every Houston Texan.
Well, that's not their fault. That's not his fault.
Bill Billick over there in the corner, just doing that work.
Anyways,
bring me up them Kyler Murray's trash stats, buddy.
Let's see. Kyler Murray, 25-35 for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns.
$230 million, baby, guaranteed for 130 yards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They scored 21 points when 2 of those came out of nowhere.
Yeah, because they were...
And Charles understands that he ran for 60 yards, but you don't pay Derrick Henry $250 million guaranteed, right? Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Lamar better make so much fucking money.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, he ran for that, but compared to Lamar or Josh Allen,
Yeah.
Yeah, even Tua.
Even Tua.
Tua, who ran a lot as well.
And there's always partial blame, because here's the thing: if it was all on one guy, he wouldn't be the starter anymore. That's good logic. I think you would agree with me with.
Yeah.
But Cliff Kingsbury doing something. James Conner came back from injury, wasn't there. It's so weird to say this, but we don't know what that offense would look like to help out with Hollywood Brown, so we have to kind of let that kind of go in. But Rondale Moore has not jumped up a little bit. The defense isn't really that good. That's another time they get blown up. Is it fair to say that you can keep Cliff, but you got to get rid of Steve Keim? These are weird debates that ownership will do, and then they'll make it awkward because Kyler is pouty. And I'll say that, and if he has a problem, come find me, bro. I'll just, I'll
set
get
up
you
the Call of Duty server and let's go.
No, I was gonna say I would give him a little stool so he can see me face to face, but he's taller than me too, which is funny because he doesn't look like it. Like I don't want to say I can fight anybody.
Well, he's my height, so right, so he's my height, so he's.
I legitimately don't think I could fight anybody in the NFL. Kyler Murray is the one guy who makes me think I could probably go 12.
Yeah, you do your boxing, whatever. You get in the same weight class, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. All because I can get him angry mad. Because all I gotta do is look at him and just like
spitting.
All I gotta do is say this. I'm like, Battlefield 3 is the best all-time war shooter game, and he'll fucking lose it.
Yeah,
he'll lose it. I'm like, Warzone's for punk asses, and he'll lose it. I'm like, you're a campy little sniper, and he'll just. I can get him.
Too much of a fucking casual. He can't even use the keyboard and mouse.
It's
kind of gaming PC. He uses the controller.
Oh yeah, kind of that guy who. He has his initials emblemed on his thing. That's what his parents got him for.
He's on FaZe Clan. That's what he's on right now.
I can't. I don't dislike anybody as a person. Actually, I dislike Deshaun Watson as a person. But like, Kyler makes it too easy. But my harp of Kyler has not been him as a human being.
No,
my harp on Kyler has always been like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And everybody's telling me I should see it. And that's always been my problem with any sports, because when I actually watch your games and I don't see the talent that people tell me it's talent, it's stupid. It's kind of like voting. You should vote for this candidate. I don't like anything about what they're giving me, but he's going to change us. I don't believe in anything that they're doing, but you should vote for them. But no.
You saw that Larry David thing. I said, you're right.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of wanted Andrew here, because I don't pre-plan segments, but sometimes I know where the pettiness is going to take me. And I feel like that would just... poor Andrew. This is a Andrew, we love you segment.
Yeah.
The shit that he deals with.
I was hoping he'd to join me in that rant too, man. Sheesh, I was ready to tag team that.
Oh yeah, because I don't think I'm intentionally mean sometimes I rant, but the response that he said yesterday, or when he said that my response, which wasn't bad at all, but it tagged a conversation with prior, I was like, oh, my poor guy, poor dude.
I know. That's why I know what I'm getting myself into with you. So I'm just like, yeah. We keep it to something. All right. Anyways, all right. So that was the Cardinals game. Let's go on to. Come on, man. Why is this like this? I keep mixing this stuff up. Anyways, let me go back here. So that was the Cardinals game. All right, Charles. We're not.
Oh, are we gonna go that one? Well, I didn't watch the Ravens Saints game, so this is my segment on that.
Yeah, Ravens and Saints. Yeah, so the Ravens won.
Pay Lamar.
Yeah, pay Lamar.
Man's literally winning with a rookie tight end as his lead guy.
Exactly. And then the Bucks beat the Rams. There was that.
Good for Tom.
Yeah.
And
then I watched the second half of this game with you.
I watched the entire fucking game.
I watched the second half of this game with you. And I think my response to you, because I hadn't really seen it. Like I haven't really seen a Titans game. Like I've seen it like earlier in the season, but I haven't seen a Titans game. And I was just like, what is this play calling?
And I literally was I not candid and honest in preparing you in this? Was I not candid and honest in every single bit and a basis and everything like that?
I'm like, is this 1995?
And I'm sorry. Let me preface something. I apologize to you and to Andrew for the slew of commentary that came out, for all the reaction gifs, for the statements, for all of the stuff that I said, the insults that came out that were plenty, because it was an onslaught that was never ending. This was the game that I have talked about. What, we're 9 weeks into the season? This is the game that I talked about that was the perennial seminal example of a Tennessee Titan offense. We do not look good on paper. We have beaten teams that, are not truly tested and battled.
You're in the AFC South.
And we're in the AFC South. And when we get the team, and we frustrated the hell out of Kansas City, and Jeffrey Simmons on the bottom, on behalf of Titan Nation, if I can say that as a representative, and I don't think you want me as a representative, I'm going to give you a representative. I'm sorry that your head coach has brainwashed you and everybody else to make it seem acceptable that you had to be out there for like 70 pass plays of Patrick Mahomes alone. That's how many. He had to run like 60, man, just for him to get 20 points. That your defense played exceptional. I'm sorry, and I apologize to national TV audience. Not that we screwed the pooch. We probably gave you a game that said, damn, Kansas City with the right matchup does not look good. So you're welcome. I'm sorry that you had a coach who literally does not know how to win, but knows how to lose very well. And I understand that Mike Vrabel was coach of the year last year. I understand that Mike Vrabel has had an excellent record as coach. This was a man who, when they went for the last field goal to make it 17, I was like, go for 4, go for the touchdown. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Coming into it, because that defense was going to be gassed. So you have to play the numbers game. Derrick Henry did fine, and then they had
a more even in credit to like guys like Mike McDaniel and stuff like, and a coach that is into like sabermetrics and all that type of stuff would know that in that situation you probably should have gone for it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
Statistically speaking,
I'm sorry for Malik Willis, because we're looking at those stats and they make it seem like on him. I watched the entire game. You're only throwing 16 times because of the fact that your philosophy is always to run the ball. Once again, they ran the ball 30 times, and I want to see Malik run it more.
God bless Derrick Henry.
I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to him. I was running too hard on it. I guess he
requiring a win, especially in this, like that would have been too much.
But I wanted someone to care more than me. That's what it was. And he ran a lot, and we have to make him easy. But it's that shit that drew me up, because this is partially on Mike Vrabel. This is also partially on John Robinson for feeding the brain. Because when you look at our receivers, bud, Okoroku, I can't say his name. That was a screen thing, but he's our big old tight. Yeah, that's our big old tight end.
I got the stats here. So
there is no other receivers right now, because Traylon Burks, our first round, was on the IR.
And they showed the graphic. They showed the graphic comparing your top 2 receivers
to AJ
meant
Brown.
To replace AJ Brown, and
Nick Westbrook is not even really a true number 2. The guy's really like a 3-4, but because of necessity, 3. And so, like, we didn't make a trade for anybody. I wanted Denzel Mims. I was like, let's take a flyer on the guy, right? Probably get him pennies on the dollar. And this is the problem when you don't shore up your team. How? Because I'll be honest with you, Francisco, you put Ryan Tannehill in that position, I think you get the same score. You get the same score.
You know what the Titans are? They're like the Colorado Rockies, where they will do enough to make you think they're going to be competitive, but really they're cheap.
I can't even say that. I'm just gonna give you a more understandable modern day vibe if you want to go on baseball for it.
Or another sport,
Yeah, well, I'll keep it with baseball, but I won't name teams, and you can find it. It's the team that gets all hitters and no pitching. Because you built up everything on your defense and your offensive line and your runners,
or the
but
Marlins,
you did
basically
all the Marlins,
and no hitting.
But that's fair. But you didn't build any receivers, and I'm not saying you had to get the best receivers. I'm not saying that every receiver needed all that Devontae Adams money, but you didn't draft anybody coming into it. Kyle Phillips is on the IR. Traylon Burks is on the IR. So are 2 guys that we did draft are out. You didn't make any trades for anybody. Really, you couldn't get Denzel Mims for a 5th round pick? Seriously? He would not learn that offense, but something we were throwing to Cody Hollister, and I saw one of those throws that he wasn't even looking at the ball. And Malik will make his mistakes, but that's the problem. I'm telling you, man. Is some people they'll blame it on Malik. I'm telling you right now, Tanny could have been in that game. The score stays the same, and that is my issue with it. Is because of how ass backwards you have decided to make this, and I hate it. So much do I hate it. I hate this masturbatory celebration or celebratory masturbation of 1972 November 8th football. It is not good because, yes, you beat teams, but exactly what happened. Your clock control only works.
Disparity, man. 400.
I'm telling you.
Passing yards to 57.
Mahomes had to throw it 60 times.
Yeah.
I am not exaggerating. What happens is the long running is fine, but when you have to do the dig, everybody was gassed. Juju was getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey was getting the ball. And, your corners, everybody is tired because you're out there longer. And it is just ridiculous. And it's like, we're going to get into the playoffs. Declaratively, I'm saying that right now. And
you're winning that division by default.
Yeah. We might not be the people that you want to play in the first round because you might not be ready.
Yeah,
we have not
a grindy playoff football game in the wild card round. Then
we would probably get the 7th seed, and I can't even tell you who.
Well, no, you're going to win the division, so you're going to get one of those top. You're going to get a home game in that first round.
Yeah, that's right. Because the 1 seed gets the bye, and
right.
Because remember, we were the number 1 seed last year, so I didn't really pay attention to the metrics of it.
Yeah.
But matchup wise, oof, buddy, you give us the Bengals, we're fucked. You give us the Ravens,
the Chargers,
maybe. Oh, I think
Dolphins.
we could get the Dolphins.
Yeah.
That's the because the Dolphins are basically going to do what just happened to us, because you're not going to run with Mostert.
No.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons will eat him up. But it's very just, petty. But this is the disappointing. I'm like a parent who like, what do you mean you gotta? I'm the parent right now who's like, what do you mean you got an F in English? You speak the damn language on the report card. That's how it feels. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how you fix it. And I want to win, damn it, because the window's only for another 2 years. I'm telling you, the window's for another 2 years, because we have too much front-loaded money. There's a lot of guys who have to get paid. We already got rid of the best offensive player not named Derrick Henry. And arguably, and this is going to sound sacrilegious. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But gun to my head, if I had to keep AJ or Derrick, I would have kept AJ, because a good offensive scheme can always bring in the right runner. That's what Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan taught me. And it works. And the Tennessee Titans are known for just running the ball. We had DeMarco Murray. We had Chris Johnson. We have Lendell White. There's a lot of people who followed Eddie George. I'm just saying. And I'm right. DeMarco Murray won leading rusher. Chris Johnson won leading rusher. We have I can't speak right now. Derrick Henry won leading rusher. It is not impossible. You can plug and play guys. I'm just serious. But a wideout, not what people want to call a true number. Well, there's number one by default and there's true ones, but a guy who is special, and we let that go because we want to hold. I know Vrabel didn't want him to go.
Nice.
I know Robinson wanted him to head out. But it was just one of those things where something's got to give. And if you really don't want a guy gone, then go. But 1 for 11 on third downs. They went 8 for 19. And that's how often I throw. So that's a testament. And, the problem is we lost the game that people picked us to lose. But it hurt because we felt like we could have won if we just broke from the mold a little bit. And what I tell people is like, I don't want to revolutionize the style of offense. I want to modernize it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it to this. Because we got into OT. When we got into before we got into OT, the first was a run, and then it was a pistol formation. Why are you even wasting for a pistol formation, which leaves the gaps open for guys to tackle you? And why didn't you just go into shotgun? Mm-hmm. Screw it. Why didn't you just go for screens with Derrick Henry? I know Dontrell Hilliard is faster with his hands. I have seen Henry take a screen and run it home. Mm-hmm. You take those chances. Because what's going to happen? Malik loses the game for us by throwing a pick. The guy ate 2 sacks in a row. Mm-hmm. This is you got an F in English, but you speak the damn language. Disappointment. Yep. But this is a train wreck. But the choo-choo petty train survives for another day.
That's it. Yep. That's where we're off the train. The train is gone now. Well, here's some good news. Sonic Frontiers does have 2 modes. It's got on PS5 if you want to know. Yeah, performance mode, which will get you 1080p 60 frames. All right.
What? Why the hell am I playing 1080p on Ramona?
And you got the resolution mode, which will give you 4K 30 frames. All right.
So I have no choice but when I get it for the Switch then.
The Switch.
But that's what you're telling me.
Switch is 720p 30 FPS on both handheld and docked. So
I'll go fuck myself in the corner then.
That's
upsetting because I'm not gonna lie. I'm nice because
I'm gonna get the mods once they get going to help that performance on this.
Yeah, you see, I had to bail out from Splatoon because I knew we were coming to the cage, and so I was just watching the Sonic Frontiers experience on the Switch, and it can go either or. And look, I have legitimately no problem with any game going at a hard 60 FPS. It does make a difference on certain things, but at 1080p, I'm just playing on my Switch, right? Because essentially, I'm just playing a high-end, PS4 game.
Yeah, well, all right. Let's do it. We're at 2 hours and 12 minutes.
You're good. And we can keep it to a short cage to a degree because it's a pay-per-view review and then also 2 comments. Right. Welcome, everybody, your weekly Triplex The Cage with Charles. Full disclaimer, wrestling is not fake. It is scripted. It's a stage fight. It's a song and dance about men and women chasing championships, establishing their legacies, trying to beat the holy hell out of each other, and then just try to stray away from the legacy of Vince McMahon. Unfortunately, sometimes we make dumb decisions when we're booking to lead us back to the realm of events-ness. So comments to keep it short on the cage because Francisco and I had a very long discussion on gaming, so the cage can survive on a brief note. AEW, the Elite might be coming back. Full Gear is in 2 weeks, I think. And then so I think the next show is when we're going to do the Full Gear breakdown. It's November 19th. So probably either the next show or the following show we'll go to the full thing. That's AEW's one of the bigger pay-per-views. Could be exciting, could kind of be boring. They're doing a world title tournament eliminator We know Moxley and MJF are going to be main eventing it. They're going to have some other stuff too. Yay for them. We'll go and see where that takes us. New Japan, things are happening. TV titles tournaments happening. I haven't given much interest into it because I hate that TV title. It looks ugly. I get what they're coming from. It does not look bueno. And what do we like, Francisco? Things are bueno. And we go from there. And then Impact, people leaving, people coming back. So we see how it takes us. So let's go to WWE. There was a pay-per-view. It was Crown Jewel. There was matches that I thought could have been good. And this is the third full pay-per-view under the Triple H administration. I don't really count SummerSlam too much because the stories and everything were kind of leading into it. And I'll tell you now, overall, to me, the pay-per-view was a C. But for a Vince McMahon comparison, Vince pay-per-view probably would have been a D. So this is good to a degree, but there was a lot of head-scratching finishes, and we're going to kind of shit on a couple of things. Can we do that? We're going to do it. They started with Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. The meat slapping meat. And it started out the way I like it, meeting on the meat slapping meat kind of stuff, but it ended like they were telling some stories with Bobby attacking Brock's knee. Brock was angry. And then the finish, though, was kind of goofy because what happened was Bobby had Brock in the Hurt Lock. And remember, they met a Royal Rumble, and then Bobby won that one. So he had him in the Hurt Lock. He was running through, and then Brock couldn't escape. You hear him talk, and then he ran up to the turnbuckle with Bobby still like him and then pushed him back for momentum and got the 3 count. Bobby was irate. Beat the shit out of Brock afterwards, kind of starting the heel turn because he's frustrated with Brock. And then, Brock won. So now we have 1-1. Maybe they meet at WrestleMania. I would be for it. You can have more time, but this is one of those big event pay-per-views. And what you're saying is, Charles, is the Saudi Arabia pay-per-views not big events? They are. However, they're not the big 4 pay-per-views because Triple H is going to look to get rid of Money in the Bank. So we're going to eliminate that from the topic conversation. So that match could have been better, but I enjoyed it for what it was. The women's tag team match I thought was awful. And there's people who liked it. And I felt like the chemistry was kind of off. Damage Control versus Alexa Bliss and Asuka for the women's tag team championship. There was like people setting up for spots and waiting. And it just wasn't my thing, man. I don't know what felt off about it. They kind of seemed like there was no chemistry with people going on. And then, of course, Damage Control won. And here's the problem, man. They lost the titles on Monday. So it was the point of them losing the titles on Monday. And then when they here, and they won because Nikki Cross came in and interfered to hit her finisher on Alexis Bliss. And then it's like, poof. 1, 2, 3, because they're setting up for War Games. They're throwing it down our mouth that they're going to have War Games, and I couldn't be less interested in War Games. This feud has really been building since August, and it's lost its steam. And partially, it's lost its steam because Bayley keeps losing to Bianca. More on that in a second. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross steel cage match. It had the old-timey kind of effect of what I liked in the old school wrestling and cage matches, and then once again, Drew won because Scarlett interfered and locked the cage door, but Drew was like, well, you feel like the cage door, I'm just going to climb up. And he climbed over it, and she tries to unlock the cage to get Karrion out there, and Karrion was a little slow to the draw, and she's always interfering. Remember, Cross was fired, came back. He was H's like baby in NXT, treated like a god, came onto the main roster, abused by Vince in the worst ways. Got fired, came back, and if you can't give him a clean win against a big name, I understand Drew can't take a loss either, but something's got to give. Who has more of ability to reestablish the credibility? The guy who's kind of been doing it pretty well the last couple of years, or the guy who just came back on a flyer? And that's why you should have had Karrion win clean. My guess is they'll finish it off at a SmackDown instead of a pay-per-view, where Drew loses to Karrion and just build from there, and then maybe we get Drew and Walter at some point, or Gunther, which would be great. But it wasn't really a good look for Cross, so I felt bad for him to a degree. Moving on, OC, the club, AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows versus Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good match. It was a nice little taste test of what I want at Survivor Series, which is Finn Balor versus AJ Styles. 2 phenomenal performers. AJ Styles is the phenomenal one. We love him. He can get a 5-star match out of me if I wrestled. Him and Finn go back because Finn was the original leader of the Bullet Club, and then AJ was the second leader of the Bullet Club. And what's so weird for me, man, is the fact that they're mentioning all these other factions from other organizations now, because Vince doesn't even acknowledge the other organizations' promotions. But Hunter's like, I don't care. Say that they're Bullet Club Bullet Club people. Say that Carl Anderson is currently the never openweight champion for New Japan. Have fun with it. It's so weird, but it makes sense because what they're doing, I feel like, is Hunter is treating the other promotions the way you treat soccer, like La Liga and all that stuff. It's the same player just going to play for all these different teams on borrowing and transfer to World Cup. That's what it feels like, and that's kind of cool. Wrestling has a connected togetherness. I don't need a super show. I don't need a forbidden door, but I need you to acknowledge the logic. Match was good. The final 8 minutes of it was just AJ and Finn, and then Rhea interfered, and then Finn pinned AJ, and that feud's not over. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's not over because on Raw, they went at it again, and Rhea is a female wrestler. Well, Hunter brought back Mia Yim, and Mia Yim is now part of the OC and Wage War, and good for Mia Yim. It's interesting because she's married to Keith Lee, who's over at AEW. So they could keep it separate and fine, or maybe you want to go work with your wife. I don't know. I think part of the reason, this is all speculation, of course, but part of the reason why it's a better advantage for Mia Yim at WWE than AEW is because I'm going to say right now, Tony Khan, even though we give them their props every now and then, their women's division is crap. They haven't done well enough to really shape it and make it focused. And I think part of that is just the same players playing. You got to rotate some people, but they don't even give them TV time or stories. And there's a lot of good talent on the AEW women's division. I love Jade Gargill. I think she's, everything that you want to build into a superstar. Britt Baker gets her love in there. Thunder Rose is injured. Toni Storm's around. She used to be at WWE, but she was cast off and fired as well. And then you have Willow Nightingale who's getting some momentum. There's talent, but I feel like it gets overstretched by Tony Khan having too many toys to play with, right? And that's wrestling. You were just making your own thing. But Judgment Day 1, good match. Probably the second best match I saw. Braun Strowman versus Amos. It was a match. Amos is very raw, very green. He's probably not long to be in that promotion forever, but you saw two giants kind of beating the hell out of each other, and then Braun won with a power slam, leave it be, go from there. Almost talks too much in his matches, too much trash talking, and sometimes if you're a giant, being a little intimidating by being silent helps out too. What do I know? I'm like 5'7". I'm only tall in front of the children, right, and the midgets. And everybody else in between, short people, whatever you call it. I don't know the proper words. I think Tyrion Lannister, because I like Game of Thrones. So sorry if I offend anybody on that statement. And then we get to that's a good save, right? There you go. Then we get, Francis is like, Jesus, we're going to cancel. Listen, I'm not Mitchell, whatever he is. I'm a tiny man. So you have the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes. Excellent match. Best match of the night. Second best match of the night. I'll revisit it. Very entertaining. I don't think the feud's over. I think they go to War Games, but we'll see how it leads it there. Good tag team match. Then we have the Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Last women's standing match. I was looking through my phone throughout this entire match, and that's not a good thing. It's a spot fest. It's enjoyable. I like both women, even though Bayley, I feel like, is still trying to find her groove as a leader, Damage Control. But my problem is ultimately they have met 3 times now. And they had met a couple times before Bayley tore up her knee. And Bianca won every single match. She won the clean match. She won the ladder match with interference from all the Damage Control and still won't fight her friend. And then she won this match. What are we here for? How is this going to propel us to War Games, man? How are you going to be a credible threat? I understand that your girls won the tag matches, but you can't win the big one. So after 3 attempts, why are we still continuing the feud? What was the harm, really, man, of having Bayley win this title from Bianca in a last woman standing match, right? Nothing, because you're not even getting pinned clean. But Hunter probably wants Bianca versus Rhea. I want that match too. I ain't gonna lie to you. However, at the expense of what you want, what about what you currently have? That's sometimes the logic in wrestling. That's probably the most intellectual thing I've ever said about wrestling, and it's a world of non-intellectual comments that are made not just by me, but everybody in the internet wrestling community. Yeah. But seriously, like there was a cool spot with a golf cart, so I'll give her that. There was a couple of scary botches. I wasn't crazy about it. Bayley did not go through the table correctly, but I digress. Of a match. And then we had the match that was pure sports entertainment. It was a wrestling clinic, but there was wrestling in there, and that was Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. I don't know why people don't like Logan Paul. I don't, can I say this word, dick ride social media influencers the way people did. I understand there's controversy with Jake Paul and him like seeing dead people in the forest of Japan and laughing about it. They're dicks. I get that. You know, so I get it, but this is sometimes unfortunately the new generation that we deal with, that we have all this mass media consumption and our vanity gets to truly show and people propel off of vanity. And you guys have to understand that's a consequence that we've all created from Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and then all the other stuff. And we all subscribe to it in some way, form of another. Hell, we have an OnlyFans. But this match itself, there was something about it where Paul, I'm looking at him, and I think he could be a big player in the WWE if he went full time. He does have a contract there, but he's probably like a spectacle. He's not going to be a guy who's wrestling on SmackDown or Raw, going from there often. But if he puts like 15 more pounds of muscle on him, he knows how to work the energy of the crowd. And you know my opinion about wrestling. If you are dead silent and no one's even having an emotion for you, you failed. It's Shakespeare in the Park, and you're doing your own stunts. And Roman is just so good as a trash talker. And this was really what should make you appreciate Roman as a champion, because, and I felt that Drew should have won at Clash at the Castle, and he didn't. But Drew couldn't have this match with Logan Paul. You couldn't. You have to have somebody who touched both sides, because wrestling doesn't have to be just flips and flops and then hammer fists. It can also be about, you know, bringing all the people and jaw jacking and getting that emotion and that energy. Instead of going, wow, you have that momentum of disbelief. And I don't like Jim Cornette at all, but he has this comment about wrestling where you know how a fight ought to be when you see a little guy versus a small guy. And, you know, really the big guy should beat the shit out of the little guy. But then what happens is when you're telling the story, you're telling the idea, you're telling the David and Goliath, you're building into it. And then you get that idea of that, hey, maybe that little guy could win. I'm going to pay the $5 to see how they win. That's the same thing of how you equate this match, because Logan's whole premise was one punch is all I need, one lucky shot. Who's not to say that I'm the guy who could do it? And they really kind of generated that story around it. It got a little too messy at the end because you had Logan Paul's people come out and his brother came out, and then you had the bloodline come out. And yes, I was going we the ones with my finger when it was being raised, as if Roman saw me, but maybe we have a special connection that we don't know about.
I bought the shirt.
I bought the shirt. I have the Needle Mover shirt, and I have the We the One shirt. And I bought it for my paralegal too, because we're wrestling geeks. And We the Ones, Derek. That's my shout out to you, brah. But it is, you didn't see me, but if I was in virtual, you would see me raise the finger because I was too into this. But it is something that is a testament to Roman, where you can get a match that good out of somebody who's had only 3 matches of experience. This is their match, but they both knew how to work the crowd. Overall, pay-per-view was a C because, you know, if I'm looking through my phone, if I'm going, this is so stupid of a booking for certain matches, it doesn't mean I was happy. Was I disappointed? No, but I'm glad I waited the next day to watch it so I could fast forward through the promos and then through the intros. I could just get straight to the point. Sometimes there was a benefit to it. And then last night at Raw, crazy stuff happened. There's a lot of bad reviews on what happened at Raw, and I'll keep it brief. So Seth Rollins is your United States champion. I think he should be a guy who dethrones Roman. Screw it, but that's just me. But he's the U.S. champion. He holds an open challenge. Bobby Lashley's coming out to challenge it. And then Austin Theory comes out. Now, Austin Theory is your current Mr. Money in the Bank. Who was Mr. Money in the Bank? What's the purpose of them? To cash in that briefcase for a title shot at any time that you want against the current world champion. Well, for the first time ever, the title was being cashed in on the U.S. championship. And not only did Austin try to cash it in, he lost. So it was a failed cash in. Austin was like Vince's final go at a prodigal son concept, or prodigal child. And Hunter took it over. And some people were saying that Austin's buried, and some people were saying he's not buried. It's a bad look either way, because I don't know why you can just have him try to attempt it on Roman and then fail. But you have it on stories that don't make sense. And it brings up 2 points of importance. One, Roman isn't on TV enough, and that's why that thing had to be, cashed in. But granted, you can cash it in at any time, but there's rumors about Hunter wanting to change the vision of the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then 2, but more importantly, Raw desperately needs a world championship. Remember, it was originally Brock, and then Roman beat him to unify the titles, but you don't know if it's unified or if it's just 2 of the same titles. It's now just the undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship. Before it was WWE Heavyweight Championship and the Universal Championship. But you have it's trying to treat the U.S. title to be bigger than what it is. And I like the U.S. Championship as a lore and a history, but it's not a world championship, and you create it upon yourself. So you're not going to end the brand split, right? You got to have everybody fight you out with your networking. But I feel bad for Theory. The guy's 25 or 24. He's going to have a long life ahead of him, and then maybe they can create new characters for him. and he can create his own character. His ring work is actually near impeccable. It's very good. People who don't like him just hate him to hate. And that's my problem with wrestling fans, man. I gotta tell you, the one thing that really bothers me with him is like you are so like up in your ways and being obstinate about what you like and what you don't like that you can't acknowledge the actual talent in front of you. Stop that. Get over it. Let's just all enjoy wrestling. Stop that right now. You got an F in English. What is this? But I feel bad to a degree because I feel like it halts his momentum a little bit. But it really kind of tells me, what are we going to do now? We know War Games is happening, and that's on November 26th. So there's 2 pay-per-views we got this month for WWE and then for AEW that we have to build up. But it was an interesting note because it was the first time someone tried to cash in on a mid-card title and failed, and it really hurts. I would rather he try to cash in on the World Championship on a random SmackDown when he tries to make an attack on Roman and try to have a TV match or something, and then there was interference and it's canceled. There's better ways to create it. And that's the problem, too, with wrestling. When you take out the performance-wise and you go into stories, man, if you go and say, I would have booked it like this better, we hold on to that, and I hold on to that because it's the same way of adapting a movie or a book or a video game onto the big screen. A TV show, book, or a video game. You're like, I would include this. I would have done that. I would do this. And you really take out you're not nitpicking for enjoyment anymore. You're nitpicking because you thought the quality of the product was that low. And you can't have that happen. Or else, not everybody gets the opportunity to redo Little Women for the 5th fucking time in Hollywood. I don't understand how that movie gets made 5 times. Even though I've heard the current one's very good, I haven't had the chance to see it. I'm a little bit of a cinephile, just so you guys know. Unlike, other things like an audiophile like Laszlo and What We Do in the Shadows. And that's all I got for you this week on The Cage. See, I brought it all together.
Alrighty. Okay. So, yeah, that's it. So, we're at 2.5 hours. So, I think we should just end it. All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Huh?